Our first topic is a presentation by the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And it looks as though there's a presentation that goes along with it. So I'll let you two kick it right off.
Thank you, President Abel Collins, for that intro.
I'm not sure that microphone is on.
Is that any better?
That's
there
much
we are.
better.
Thank you. Wow. It's always even more challenging with the mask, but I will do my best to enunciate. So thank you for the opportunity this evening to present as the SK BPAC committee to you to present our master plan. Terry, could you forward it to the next one, please? So tonight's presentation, we're just going to provide an opportunity to go over what we have done since the onset, a history about our BPAC, our committee, as well as we will touch on elements of our master plan and an additional element of our master plan called the BPIP, which is the Bike Pedestrian Improvement Plan. And lastly, under our advocacy, examples of our accomplishments. And then to wrap things up, Kenny and I will be talking about recommendations to the Town Council this evening. So a little bit about the history of how we got to where we are today. The Town Council endorsed Complete Streets for planning, and prior to that, we were also very involved, many of us, with the Healthy Places by Design prior to that. And through the Rhode Island Department of Health grant and the volunteer efforts of the town and many residences of Healthy Places by Design, thank you very much, the Town Council, for endorsing our planning and authorizing then the BPAC in 2017. In 2018 and 19, we performed with Kayla Gray, under her guidance and assistance, a SWOT analysis. We reviewed plans and started that as a precedent to basically segueing into the draft of the master plan. In 2020, we developed and...
Hold on, Jen.
What is SWOT? So those of us not familiar with the acronyms, thank you.
Kenny, I forget all of them.
That's the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats analysis for planning purposes.
So in 2020, we had the opportunity to present our master plan to the Town Council, and this past January, we also presented to the town residents as well. And then, as you can see, June of this year, we presented the list of priorities to Town Council as part of the, I believe that was part of the STIP presentation as well. And here we are. Appreciate the opportunity this evening to present to you as well. Other direction, Tara. So the master plan was developed over the course of essentially 2 years. And we started with a vision statement that was to maintain and expand opportunities for the town of SK residents and visitors of all ages and abilities to be able to walk and bike safely for transportation, fitness, and enjoyment. We also were under the task of preparing a guide to improve the bicycle and pedestrian network, and lastly, to plan for intermodal interconnectedness, meaning to tie into existing bus transportation opportunities through RIPTA, our existing bike paths, etc., for safe, convenient, efficient, and comfortable movement of bikers and pedestrians throughout the town, throughout all of our villages. And the purpose of this plan was to inspire all levels of town government to not only work toward achieving a more bikeable and walkable community, but as well as to enrich our current and future plans with the overarching Complete Streets policy. Complete Streets policy is basically a policy that not only involves design, but it helps with infrastructure planning to accommodate all the users in every city and town across America. And then lastly, to provide recommendations on how to achieve the Complete Streets policy, goals, and objectives.
Thanks, Jen. So, as Jen said, there was at least 2 years of planning that went into this, and it's important to note that we did this through quarantining, semi-quarantining, and here we are now having public meetings. It is critically important for our group to extend that work and do some public outreach. We're very much aware of this, and we're anxious to re-engage and start that component of this work. As Jen mentioned earlier, there's something called the BPIP, the Bike and Pedestrian Improvement Plan, that we developed. We literally came up with a clearinghouse, hundreds of individual, discrete projects, programs that could be done, should be done. South Kingstown's an interesting network of villages. They're all usually connected in varying degrees. We recognize that. So we created this BPIP. Sounds very much like the state STIP. That's not an accident. The intention is for us to segue from the planning realm into kind of an action-oriented realm where we could actually put some of these ideologies to task, to actually get out in the field and make some improvements. We went through an analysis of the hundreds of individual line items, the projects, the ordinances, the educational programs that we wanted to do. And we came up with a short list that was discussed earlier this summer. Very briefly, those top priorities are the Main Street Business District. One of the fundamental drivers there is the intersection with the bike path. There's a high amount of pedestrians in the area. Kingstown Road is very complex. Up near the university, it gets complicated. There's not a lot of areas to walk. Throughout the villages of Peacedale, a lot more interaction, but again, not very friendly depending on where you're at. And of course, Old Mountain Field is a complex area that's had a lot of attention over the years. Broad Rock Road, with the investment in the new South County Commons bike path, the adult daycare, the YMCA, and the new rec center. Again, there's a deliberate investment of the town to have recreational activities there. We need to figure out how to connect folks, and I saw Greg there. Greg's in the background. He knows of opportunities to perhaps connect folks from that part of town over into Peacedale. And then on the paperwork side, we were thinking about an ordinance. It's just how government works. How do you get out of the planning realm and work hand in hand with the town staff? How do we help empower them to make some changes that are positive in our community? Other areas of concern, it's all over the place, but the short list: Peacedale, Route 1 and 38 in Kingston, West Kingston. I see Tim here, obviously, representing the library. Middlebridge Road, we've got folks on our committee that are here. We've had some investment there, and sadly some tragedies in their history. Succotash Road, South Road, educational strategies. I mentioned Dave Hamill's here from our committee, as well as Kateri Collins. Are both very interested in making sure we get educational ideology out, integrated throughout town government, school, and municipal. And then a dozen of other projects and programs. So I'm just going to quickly step through some of the projects just to give you an example of the things that we've seen, not always uniquely at our hand, but something that's worth discussing. You can flip forward, Terry. The first picture there was of the South County Commons bike path. Wonderful opportunity. I know Rich Bourbonnais and town engineer had worked on that project very diligently, and glad to see that up and operating. Great way to connect to an otherwise inhospitable, a wonderful location, but not really through Route 1. An initiative that happened years ago, Representative Tanzi, several others, Councilman Collins is in this picture, getting flags set up. It seems very simple, wasn't a big dollar amount, but most folks from town understand that these are great opportunities to make crossing in very busy intersections in Wakefield and Peacedale a little bit safer. Bike racks, we've worked with artists in Providence to start weaving in bike racks in various places throughout town. And, of course, the Middlebridge safety upgrades. If you could flip one more time. So, again, the bike paths, the university has their bike path. I actually see a lot more skateboarders than I was expecting to see out there, but at least people out there recreating. Old Tower Hill Road, I want to say that was a wonderful collaboration that we were directly involved with. That was planning board, it was folks from the BPAC, it was town staff, it was public safety officials, and we lobbied appropriately the Department of Transportation very, very hard to change their standard format of just putting new asphalt down, and we turned that around into a much friendlier entrance into downtown Wakefield. So we're really happy to see that type of leverage organized collectively at a town level to get a state agency to pay attention to it. Terry, the last slide, please. So we do have some recommendations. There's a lot of information out here, folks. The planning slide actually had the very long hyperlink. Our master plan is on the town website. We encourage you to take a look at it. We encourage you to come out to one of our meetings. As I mentioned earlier, we do want to get out to the community and start to validate some of these ideas that we'd come up with. We are not residents of all the communities out here, so we do need that feedback. But if I can touch on the specific recommendations that we're looking for, we do feel it's appropriate to have a complete streets ordinance. This is a process that several municipalities in Rhode Island have already gone through. We've looked at several models internally, and in working with the town engineer and the town manager, we're at a point where we'd like an endorsement of the council to continue to engage the town staff and perhaps the town solicitor to see what's right for the town of South Kingstown. That'll help solidify the town's commitment to the complete streets philosophy, but also how the town staff will then take the next steps and engage for future design contracts. We had a long discussion about the mission statement of the BPAC, as was originally ordained by the council. We really were high up in the ether. We wanted, you folks wanted us to look at the planning. We did that. It was fun. It was a long process. COVID made it very, very strange. But as we discussed where we're at with the town staff, they also came to the realization that, folks, you can do so much as an advisory committee. You're advisory to the council. We probably should take a step back and take a look at how to modify our mission so that we can enact some of these ideas that we've put forth in our master plan. Not us directly, but similar to other advisory committees for the town. So that's another endorsement we'd like from the council to continue working with town staff, perhaps the solicitor, to look at models for updating our mission. And then the last two were making sure that we continue to address and analyze the top town road state priorities, and it just ended up being that some of the larger concerns in town were in fact state roads because of the high volumes of traffic. We, however, recognize there's a substantial number of local roads where DOT is not involved, so we do want your endorsement to continue looking at those priorities. And lastly, we do want to start this process of coming out and going out into the community and validating these assumed opportunities for enhancement. I think that's the easiest one to do. Excuse me? Yeah, just feedback. We did have a good public meeting, as Jen said. It was back in January, but again, it was virtual, And, we had, I think we had maybe 6 or 7 folks on that Zoom call. But we really think we need to get out in the community and validate some of those ideas and get their feedback. And that is very generally our presentation. And Jen and I are here to answer any questions. And again, just want to recognize Jim Vogel, Kateri Collins, and Dave Hamill from our BPAC are also here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Questions, comments from folks up here? I know they're asking for, sort of an affirmation of the work they've been doing, but to continue perhaps focusing on this ordinance is one piece of feedback we can give them. Anyway. For my part, I did help draft the original resolution for the creation of the BPAC, so I want to really recognize the great work that you did in sort of meeting those things we set out initially. I'm totally happy to see you sort of turn it into your own affair and rewrite the mission statement. And I think a complete streets ordinance, from my perspective, is totally a natural outgrowth of all the work the community has already been putting into this. So thank you for that.
I just want to commend the committee's work that you've done. You've obviously done very diligent work in this presentation as well, and it's very informative to the council in all regards. And I agree with Abel Collins. I think it seems natural that you guys should reform your mission statement internally and pursue the Clean Streets Ordinance and present to the council. I think it's great, and I appreciate the openness and transparency and willingness to meet with us on a continual basis to inform us on the things you guys are working on. So thank you.
So I guess it's just more of a procedural process question. Since they've completed their work, tons of time and energy, great, thank you so much. Rarely do committees actually complete the charge in such a way, so I appreciate that. I just had a question. Since they've completed that charge, it sounds like they're asking to continue to but then rewrite the mission, or do we want to just make them a special ad hoc advisory that comes back periodically? I don't know the paths, I guess, whether it's a committee, a commission, a ad hoc. I don't know the definitions of all of those, and trying to recognize how to best organize that next step.
Terry, if you want to.
Sure. I think, to Councilwoman Bergner's point, there are options. Depending on what the revised or updated mission of the BPAC would be. Certainly the contribution, the advisory of the group would continue, particularly on the Complete Streets Ordinance development and also outreach and education, but it's something that we could look at and refine and would have to come back to the council with a revised mission. It's not something I can advise right at this moment.
Right. I that's what I kind of was hoping, that you would go back and sort of organize them in a different way that would be efficient to the staff that's working on this project, and then the timing and the pacing of all the other things that need to get done. So if they're not I can't remember if you're a commission or a committee. Is it a commission or a committee? Committee. So if they were an ad hoc, do they function in a slightly different way, but still have I just want to be efficient with everyone's time, because I know we have so many the rescue plan, all those other items that we're trying to move through.
Right. And I think we've had a couple of conversations with the BPAC staff has, and there is this point. Certainly the master plan has been completed, and there are numerous recommendations by the BPAC to have the staff take a look at. I think what the staff can do is present the council with a recommendation for what a revised mission would look like based on what Ken and Jen's conversation with you was tonight, and how that will dovetail with plans for the capital improvement program and advancing the Complete Streets ordinance. And I think we can certainly make that recommendation in the coming month.
Thank you. Yes, if you could just come to the microphone, and I know we do have a number of other things to get to in our work session, so we'll be...
I just wanted to quickly mention that there were 4 assignments in our mission. The bike and pedestrian master plan was 1. An additional one was to develop a system of for the public to communicate issues, and there are 2 others that I'm forgetting. But I just wanted to point out that we've accomplished 1 of our initial missions.
Thank you, Katie. All right, any other feedback for BPAC? All right. Thank you again for coming in, all of you, and
Thank you.
for all the work that you've put in and these recommendations. I do think, the town is going to be putting a number of resources into improvements, infrastructure improvements, beautifying, but also hopefully those can be functional and helping people with wayfinding, improving streetscapes so they're more walkable, through this American Rescue Plan funding that we're getting access to. So I do hope that we'll hear input from BPAC on those projects as they come forward. All right, at this point we'll move to interviews. Let's see. Why don't we start with Tim Murphy for Library Board of Trustees.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Yes, you've been doing a lot more work probably than you anticipated in this role, but tell us a bit about your experience, why you would like to be reappointed.
It's been, 3 years before since I got the appointment. And at the time that I signed up for the possibility of being on the library board, I just thought I really wanted to support what I consider to be a great community organization. This town is really blessed to have the libraries that it does have, and beautiful historic buildings and really well-run professional libraries. So over the past 3 years I've tried to do that. I've tried to be an advocate and ambassador for the libraries in every way I can, working with the librarian and the other members of the Board of Trustees. A couple of things that I did in the last couple of years, I organized a series of lectures on Alzheimer's disease that was very well attended. 3 different nights over a couple of weeks with some medical professionals from various places around the state, and went really well. One of the things that we did as part of that was to do a exit survey and interview with people, which is something new for library programs, to find out what they learned, what they liked, what they didn't like, and suggestions for future things. Throughout the pandemic, the board has worked pretty closely with the library staff to try to continue to provide services to the community. And the staff has done did a tremendous job, particularly during the early days when things were looking really dark. The library was a place to go still, where people could get information, and books, even if there was, from drop-off, curbside pickup. And the internet extension out into the parking lot. So there are a lot of people that showed up and were parked in their cars and used those internet connections. So it was I think, a pretty successful response to the pandemic. And then, of course, the parking situation at URI, which has been an interesting experience. And I think with the support of the town council, and with the support of the library director and particularly the town manager and interim town manager, we have a successful outcome for now. It's a reprieve for how many months, but I think we need to continue working on getting a permanent solution for parking at Kingston and try to have a more cooperative arrangement with URI to work in that direction. I do have to, again, commend Terry Murphy, though, because there's been so much on her plate, from pandemic to hurricanes to floods, but she really did a terrific job of being an intermediary between the library trustees and the town and URI. And it wasn't an easy process, but I think we were able to get a successful outcome for now.
Very good. Thank you, Tim. Any questions for Tim?
Just want to recognize you basically for the last 6 to 8 weeks really brought a lot of advocacy about this issue to the community and really shown us what you're doing. You've shown the whole community what you're doing when you serve as the chair of the Library Board of Trustees. So I just want to thank you for that, because I think it was necessary and very eye-opening to many in the community, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for your support as well. I will say that the community support was just tremendous. Many people shared these very moving and respectful, but moving and powerful, persuasive letters that they sent to URI. People talked about their childhood experiences at the library. There were faculty at URI. There were all kinds of people from all walks of life just sharing with the university how important the Kingston Library is and how important it is to have safe parking there. And I think all of those messages of support really made a big difference. And the town council support as well made a big difference. So appreciate it very much.
Tim. All right, we'll let you off the hook then, and we should be able to let you know pretty soon.
Thank you.
Let's move right on to our next Library Board of Trustees applicant, Hillary Carlson.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
So you also would like to continue in this role?
Yes, I would very much. I came on when Tim did. We started together, and I can hardly believe it's been 3 years. And when I first started, I'm not going to repeat all the things that Tim said, because we were involved in so much more than I thought. I thought, you just sit and kind of listen, and that would be it. But have learned so much about the working of the library and its place in the community. I think the last time I was before you, we were concerned not only with the parking, but with the crosswalk from the church to the library, and it was gratifying to see that some things were done, some, signage and things on the road. So a great sense of pride, I think, working with the board and with the library, and just seeing some things happen. We had the anniversary of the Weaver, the sculpture out in front of the library, and embarrassed to say that I grew up in this town. I never, ever even noticed that. I went to that library, daily, weekly, never noticed the sculpture. And that, the whole history of that and how that all came about and the background of the Hazard family, a true eye-opener. So in addition to, I hopefully am contributing to the community, I have learned so much about my own community and the library and its workings. I would love to continue.
Thank you. Any questions for Hillary? All right, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
We will let you know.
Okay.
Another reappointment. I don't see David Flanders here, so... Oh, there he is, behind the podium.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you, David. So you would like to continue in your role on the Conservation Commission. Tell us, I can see that you've been very present, 28 out of 29 meetings. Thank you for your leadership there and always being there. Tell us how the last couple of years have gone.
Well, it's a very dynamic committee for simply an advisory committee. aside from the regular review, such as septic systems, tree plantings and landscape plans, that kind of thing, what's really great about the committee is there seems to be a specialist for any one aspect that we're talking about, as well as people with general knowledge of it. We had a couple of interesting things where we, it must have been 3 years ago now, that we actually took control of our own budget. Previously, either the town manager or the council probably approved in the town budget where our budget would go to various groups. So upon review of those groups, we found a lot of them were just outdated. I mean, there was a water monitoring group for Tuckertown Pond, and pretty much it was passé at this point. So a few other things. So we took the budget on, and first year, I think we planted trees at both Old Mountain Field and the Dog Pound Animal Shelter. We then moved on to a 2-year project supporting a Save the Bay program where they go to the elementary school kids, 4th grade, and they teach them about stormwater runoff and stormwater management. And that was really exciting. And just this past year, we gave our budget to both Watershed Watch and newly formed Friends of the Saugatucket for water quality monitoring. And that's an ongoing thing. But, for instance, one thing that Friends of the Saugatucket through Watershed Watch is doing this Thursday, we're doing what's called a monitoring blitz, where we have 13 sites along the Saugatucket and Saugatucket Pond, and we're going to be monitoring all at the same time, 8 o'clock in the morning, so we have identical conditions, because when we first monitored 2 months ago, we did get high bacteria counts. It was after a rain when you'd expect some, but by some estimations that were a little through the roof. So we're curious to see what we find, this time. So basically, also, there's room first of all, we could have some of the shortest meetings in town. And so there's room for us to bring up pet projects and discuss them and develop them and, get on to, get support, work out a plan, see where we want to go. Is it viable or not? From whom else do we need support to do it? And I really appreciate that we have room in our, program and our duties to do that. Also, this past year, we lobbied for and received voting membership in the TRC. So we, at first it was just me because I'd been attending for like the last year and a half, and then it was really emphasized that we should get rotation. And so it was a agenda item for the last 4 meetings. Okay, here it is, guys. Here's what we do. Do I have any volunteers? And no. So just this past Tuesday, I really advocated that we really have to do this because I was starting to hear murmurs from on high that it shouldn't be just one person doing it all the time. So we have 4 people now who are going to rotate, which means 3 meetings apiece, and everybody seems to be happy with that. These are 4 people who 3 of whom are retired, including myself, and 1 who has a very flexible schedule, is self-employed and can do that. So it's working out well. I mean, we're finding our own place, and it moves. And but the water quality monitoring for the Saugatucket is really important and a really good thing. We're glad to be part of that.
Excellent, thank you. Questions for Dave? All right, very good. We're letting you off easy. We'll let you know.
Thanks a lot. Good to see you.
Yep, thank you. One final interview tonight for the Waterfront Advisory Commission. This is another member who wants to be reappointed to a board. Bruce Laramie. Is Bruce here? All right. Well, if he shows up sometime before our regular session begins, perhaps we can jump to that interview. In the meantime, we can go through our agenda.
Good evening. We'll try to make this quick. There's a number of things on the agenda. To start out with, we have several licenses, pretty straightforward. We've got one for Audrey's Coffee House, which is up at South County Commons. We have a theater and dance license for the South County Center for the Courthouse Center for the Arts. We've got a victualling license for Rhode Island Guys Donuts. And then holiday sales license for Core Fitness of Wakefield, that is Planet Fitness. And a miscellaneous permit for the Angry Unicorn Half Marathon, which is a renewal that's been held before in town. Items F, G, and H under licenses are all related to Oktoberfest, which is sponsored by the Wakefield Village Association and is scheduled for October 2nd. So if the council is so inclined, can perhaps do those together. We have a public hearing for a Class B victualler liquor license for Matunic Oyster Bar. That is an expansion of our liquor license, which is a temporary. Right now, they have a temporary license for the rooftop expanded seating area for Matunic Oyster Bar. So this is for a permanent expansion of the liquor license for the Oyster Bar. Are there any questions? Moving on to communications, we have a communication.
We'll have opportunities for public input into that item during the public hearing.
That's an order of public notice.
Yeah, there's for an order of public notice later in the agenda.
Yep, that's there. Under communications, there is a communication from Doral Beasley regarding the state-owned property on Stonehenge Road. Relative to that, there was a response from the town solicitor with regard to the zoning on that, and I also provided the council with a memorandum with a recommendation with regard to the 30-day opportunity to purchase or match the price of that property, which the high bid was $370,000. And based on the condition of the property, the overall condition, and the fact that the local agencies that we would normally look to support that, Johnny Cake Center, South Kingstown Housing Authority, Habitat for Humanity, are not in a position at this time to be involved in doing anything with that property. So the recommendation is to not consider purchase of that property.
So I think that Dorald also has a letter. I don't know if it's on the agenda or he sent it and missed, but he asks about, or he explains the intended use of the property by the purchaser. Yes?
Yeah, that's in there.
So it sounds like someone who owns a restaurant is going to use it for employee housing, workforce housing for their staff, which is great. We need that. But do we have... If it's more than 4 people, is that going to, Mike is nodding, I can't even get the words out. Don't we have an ordinance that you can't have more than?
The new owner would have to comply with the zoning ordinance, absolutely.
They will have to?
Yes, they will, because it will no longer be what the prior use was, which had an exemption, so to speak. So any new use has to absolutely comply with the zoning ordinance. So
Okay.
yes, that no more than 4 unrelated individuals would apply.
Do we have any obligation to make sure the purchaser is aware of that before they go down this road of making employee housing, multiple bedrooms, and then do we have any role to just say things to think about?
You know, whenever someone purchases property, right, the onus is on them to check, you know, all kinds of regulations, including zoning. So they bid on it at auction, and they are going to, I mean, if they attempt to use it in violation, I assure you there'll be a notice of violation and there'll be an enforcement action.
Okay. There's a question.
Susan Axelrod. I believe that the ordinance says that they can apply for a special use permit to go above 4 if they can show they have adequate parking and septic and stuff. So they they won't just be shut down. There's a way to get a special permit
Right.
to go before.
They'd have to get the special use permit first before they did anything.
Okay, thank you.
Next on communications, item E is a letter from Donald Tencher concerning traffic safety on Succotash Road. Just as a note, in 2019, our police department was notified by the state after the town did lobby for safety adjustments to that road, that the speed limit would be reduced from 40 miles an hour to 25 miles per hour on Succotash Road, which was in fact enacted, from south of Chapel Road, and then north of Chapel Road, 36 to 46 miles per hour. I believe that's right, unless Joel needs to correct me on that. But there has been efforts, as you know. Succotash Road has been long on the list for DOT, and the town has appealed to the state more than many times in terms of not only the entrance to East Matunic State Beach, but in general along Succotash Road and the traffic safety. Chief?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, that is correct. In 2019, current Chief Jaber had sent notice to the State Traffic Commission requesting that they make some changes regarding the speed limit to Succotash Road. The request at the time was the upper section of Succotash Road from Route 1 to Chapel Road be changed to 25 miles per hour from 40 miles per hour. Upon review by the Traffic Commission and their traffic counts, they came back saying that they would reduce the speed limit to only 35 miles per hour as opposed to the 25 miles per hour that was requested by the police department. From Chapel Road South, as everybody knows, down all the way to the end of Succotash Road, it is 25 miles per hour. So that was kind of the history of that, and that was back in 2019.
Thank you.
Next, we have a communication from URI President Parlange to the Council, advising of his intent to meet with local public leaders to discuss perspectives on the university. At this point, I might suggest that the town council may wish to consider a kind of a mini town and gown type of activity with the university in order to have a little bit of an orientation for President Parlange to the town, if that's something the council so desires.
I think we'd be up for that. Everybody interested in another town again? Yeah, if we can reach out with some dates. I don't know. People want to do it as a separate work session or as something where they would come into a town council meeting. Preference? We're happy to go to them, I'd say, if that's the way to make it happen.
Okay. Item M under communications are several emails with regard to the AFL-CIO mailer investigation from Stacy Bazzioni, Sarah Markey, Emily Comiskey, Dee Shea, Lou Krastowski, concerning the investigation report, and a response from Councilwoman Bergner to Ms. Comiskey. I don't know how the council would like to proceed on this.
Well, I suppose we'll see if there's a lot of the people who sent those letters in the audience when we get to it. If we want to have an extended discussion. I don't see them now. Councilwoman Bergner?
We can talk about it during the public session, but I did have my specific question when I read through the letters was that it seems like Ms. Bazzioni is contradicting in this public statement her sworn affidavit that she provided to the town council. So that just begs the question, what are we doing with conflicting pieces of information?
And so I think,
Go for it.
I believe at this point, everything from the investigation and after it all just becomes public, right? So it's out there in the public. People can review it. People can draw their own conclusions. And if people want to point out inconsistencies, et cetera, they're certainly free to do so. But my advice would be any discussions here on in with this may or matter just be in public.
So if there's items that we want added and amended because they were, I don't know, we had them originally, but they somehow didn't make it onto the report. There's several email exchanges with Ms. Bazzioni, Ms. Savastano, and Guy Default that didn't make it to the public view, so are we going to?
Well, I think all those emails are now public, right? So
They're not.
Well, you're free to make them public. I mean, you can make all of those things public. I guess, and I'll do this again during the meeting, I think, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to start amending the report, so to speak, because there are all kinds of people saying it should have said this or it shouldn't have said that, et cetera. My feeling is it's out there, and anyone who wants to comment on it or disagree with it or it should do so, and it should just simply be done publicly so that the public can see and then draw their own conclusions. But those are my thoughts. I'll do whatever direction the council gives me, obviously.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, communication item O is a letter from the Economic Development Committee Chair Larry Fish requesting a joint work session with the council and the planning board to discuss zoning regulations in the commercial highway district. You've received a communication from Mr. Fish with regard specifically to the commercial highway district and the multi-story development and mixed-use regulations. And I've asked our planning director to give you a little bit of an explanation. Jamie, you want to come up and fill the council in?
Thank you, Terry. Just to give you a little bit of background based on EDC's letter, they are correct in the assumption that the Lower Tower Hill area and mixed-use development is a critical part of the department's focus as time moves forward. The council may remember back in 2018 you entered into a contract with Horsley Witten to do a evaluation of affordable housing and inclusionary zoning. A component of that is called the missing middle. And that's the primary look, where you're looking at the housing between single family and, in essence, large apartment complexes. So we've started with cottages. We're headed into duplexes, mansion houses, and townhouses. The kind of the end component of that is the mixed-use component of first floor office, retail services, second, third floor residential. That's coming probably in the next 6 to 9 months. In addition to that, looking at the focus when I came on board as the planning director, and I applaud the council and your capital improvement program, that there are funds available in fiscal year 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, including an additional $30,000 you put in this year's budget for a total of $300,000 over the next 5 years to really look hard and fast at your current zoning regulations and how a development has occurred and how the town and municipality wants development to occur in the future. And I agree with the EDC that mixed use, first floor, second floor residential, third floor residential is a critical component within the Lower Tower Hill, along Main Street, in Peacedale, and also into some aspects on how you want West Kingstown to grow too. So again, I agree in some aspects with EDC. I'm not sure if it's the appropriate timing to have a joint meeting right now, but I would leave that up to council for their edification.
Perhaps it would be good to have you discussed the timing of the meeting with Larry yet?
Okay.
I mean, I think you're right. If this is something that you're already going to know you're working on in 6 to 9 months, it probably makes more sense to have the meeting a little closer to that time. So I don't know has he heard that yet? I don't know.
Brian Wagner from our department has been staffing all the EDC meetings. He has made them aware of the future financial obligations that the town has made in the SIP, and that we are looking and moving forward and bringing on a consultant with this. Again, I think the issue is the discussion about mixed-use development happened in 2016. The Horsley-Witten study was finally signed in October of 2018. Here we are in 2021. We've had 3 changes in the planning directors in that time frame. We were in the mix of the comprehensive community plan update when I came on board. We were in the mix of the cottage regulations. We're taking incremental steps towards checking the boxes. Government moves maybe at a slower pace than the private sector, but we are taking baby steps forward to get to the end game. So, again, I can only apologize for the lag that it's taken, but with our workload, we're trying our best.
It's understood. Any other thoughts? Maybe hold off a few months before scheduling this meeting with the EDC for this reason.
I do think it's important to meet with them and have that discussion.
Do you think it will happen before the end of the calendar year? A joint meet, could we meet with Larry in the next 8 weeks? I'm not saying the next 2 meetings, but is it 3 months? And I'm going to put you on the spot, but by December 31st, would we want to have that meeting, or you're still like, I'd like to move it out farther?
I'm relatively confident that we can move forward with finishing the Horsley-Witten study in this fiscal year. And then, I mentioned that the council had appropriated an additional $30,000 at the end of the last fiscal year, so in late June. I would like to look at our workload and what the planning board's mission statement is for this year, and that $30,000 would allow us to potentially start an RFQ process in early spring to bring a consultant on in May or June to get a head start on next fiscal year. So I think early spring, Councilman Bergner, would be perhaps a good time frame to meet with EDC and talk about the next steps.
So when you say RFQ, you're going to hire another consultant sort of along the same lines as Horsley-Witten to do a targeted focus on that area, on mixed-use development?
That area and that style of development.
Okay. So my only comment is, in 2018, we charged Horsley-Witten. I'm surprised that there's still money left in that, and I don't feel like I'm confident that I could explain to anyone who asked me how that money was spent and what we got out of it. So I'm a little, I guess, confused on this. When they're not done with using all of their money and we're not clear on what they really have done, then we're going to do it. We're going to hire another consultant and push it out another 3 more years.
The Horsley-Witten study was focused on housing.
Right.
It wasn't focused on the commercial mix.
Right.
So the initial, we'll say almost $30,000 to $40,000 was an initial discussion with the community on housing types and choices. The next $10,000, that $30,000 to $40,000, was when they started to discuss the regulatory implications of cottages.
Mm-hmm.
The next 10 to 20 is looking at the duplexes, mansion houses, and townhouses, which leaves us maybe 20 or so to talk about mixed use. Depending how far down the road we can go with that mixed use discussion, may limit the amount of funds we need to do and continue the discussion on mixed use. I'm just tackling mixed use in Lower Tower Hill and Main Street is a broad discussion, because there are a number of regulatory ways you can, from conventional zoning to form-based zoning with architectural details and standards. It's a broad conversation that needs to be targeted.
I don't disagree with you at all, but I guess if a community member came to me tomorrow and said, what did we ever get with the Horsley Witten money? We studied housing. They were supposed to give us some zoning regulations to adjust. I don't think they've come before us other than the cottage zoning.
Correct.
And they're still not done with the original plan, correct? The original contract that we signed with them, we still have money left?
Correct, yes. We still have approximately $50,000 left in that contract.
Okay.
So there's a possibility, because we're doing a little more in-house, that we don't expend all of those funds.
Okay. And we could shift some of them.
And we could shift that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
And just very quickly, I'll just, in the next 5 minutes, go through the new business. Couple of new business. Item A is a resolution recognizing our EMS staff, and I'm sure you'll pull that up to the front of the meeting, Council President. Item B is a resolution recognizing September as Military Suicide Awareness Month. We have a resolution of order of public notice for Audrey's Coffee House. We have a resolution for the purchase of a Stryker Power Pro stretcher for the EMS department. That's item D. Item E is a resolution to purchase a copier. Item G is for an award of bid to purchase ammunition for the police department. Item H is a bid to purchase soft body armor for the police department. Item I is a resolution authorizing the town clerk to advertise order of notice for a public hearing for a Class T theater liquor license for South County Center for the Arts. Item J is a tax abatement. Item K is the extension of the town's declaration of emergency. Item L is a authorization to have the town manager execute a contract with Tyler Technologies, who is our vendor for the Munis financial management system that the town has used for the past 9 years, I believe. And that brings me to the end of the agenda.
Great. Thank you. Real quickly, has Bruce Laramie showed up? All right, seeing that. Mary Ann, you raised your hand earlier. I just want you to notice that your item is noted as a consent agenda item, so as soon as we pass the consent agenda, that will be passed, so you don't necessarily have to stick around for the whole meeting once that happens, but although you're entirely welcome to. Yeah. That's for the order of notice later on in the agenda. Go ahead.
But there's also an item for a license for the theater and dance.
Yes,
License
in the
for-
earlier portion of the meeting, just noting.
Okay.
All right, any questions for the town manager? All right, very good. We have about 2 minutes here before 7:30, so we'll take a very brief recess.
they're good. They disagree. Are you going to call them up at some point?
Yeah, no. Start in a second.
Honey? How about honey? Honey's good, right?
Honey?
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if you remember.
I do. Sure, I remember you. Hi. The Journal just ran something.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they just put it in.
Are we ready, Susan? I feel like they've moved closer, and I can't see their eyes anymore. Yeah, I'm going to open it with Colonel Manning in the story. Or- That's good. Susan, are we ready to go? Hello, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the South Kingstown Town Council. It is Monday, September 13th. The time is 7:33, a little bit of a late start here. I appreciate you bearing with us. Our first order of business is the pledge to the flag. Please rise and join us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Council President Collins.
Here.
Council Vice President McEntee.
Here.
Councilwoman Bergner.
Here.
Councilwoman Kelso.
Here.
Councilwoman Rose.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to alter the agenda slightly. I'm going to bring forward item 12A. This is a resolution recognizing members of the South Kingstown Emergency Medical Services for their life-saving efforts. Before I get into reading the lettering and the wording of the resolution, I would like just to bring forward Colonel Manny of the State Police, who is not here in his official duties, but is here to speak for the commendable performance of our EMS staff. And of course, his story is just one of many for residents and visitors to our town who've enjoyed their services.
Thank you, Mr. Town Council President, and thank you, Town Council, for allowing me to come here tonight and give some much deserved praise to an asset of this town. My name is James Manny. I live on Bud Browning Circle in South Kingstown. I've been a long-time resident, like my wife Tracy. This is a beautiful town. I've been in public service and public safety for about 4 decades. And over that 4 decades, I've heard great praise for our military personnel, our police personnel, fire, but rarely for EMS, to be quite honest with you. And I think the reason for that is, after giving it some thought, is most of what EMS personnel across the state, including South Kingston, deals with are medical emergencies that are covered by privacy and HIPAA laws that usually do not get a lot of press for whatever reason. Well, I'm here tonight to say thank you to them publicly, something that's long overdue and that we should say to our EMS personnel all across the state, but specifically to our members of South Kingston. I can't say enough about them. I will tell you briefly what happened to me, and then and then just get into how it played out. On July 23rd, it's my mother's birthday, and she's deceased from COVID, so it was a tough day to begin with. And I was working in my yard, and my wife happened to be home, which she was normally not home in the middle of the day. And I was weed whacking around my pool area, and suddenly a swarm of yellow jackets came out of the ground, and I got stung several times. I really don't know how many, but it was several. And I'd been stung many times in my life. I'd been an avid outdoorsman, so I really didn't think too much about it, but they hurt. So I ran around the back of the pool. My wife came by, and after some choice expletives that I was yelling in the yard, she said, "All right, relax, and let's take some Benadryl or whatever." So, but within minutes, I knew something was not right. I could just tell, and I immediately felt. I didn't even know how to describe it, but it felt like I was either going to die or like a heart attack, one or the other. So I told her, I said, I'm just going to take a quick cold shower and see if I feel better. Maybe it was the heat. Well, it wasn't. By the time I made it up the stairs, I passed out, fell down. And when she ran upstairs, the only way to describe me that she told me later was that I looked dead. She said I was unresponsive, I was unconscious, and she could not detect a pulse or any breathing. She called 911 right away, and the 911 operators, who actually fall under me, really tried to help her through this and say, try and get a pulse, try and see if you can feel any breathing. And she could not, but I was still breathing. So within 6 minutes, our EMS arrived. I'm so thankful my wife was in the yard. I'm so thankful that EMS was close and that they had a rescue to send to me. I don't remember a thing. I was out. When I woke up 6 minutes later, I could hear a soothing voice. It was paramedic Sarah Pete's voice trying to resuscitate me. It took 2 attempts to resuscitate me through epinephrine, and I could hear my wife sobbing, and I could tell that everyone was very upset. I've responded to hundreds and hundreds, if not several thousand emergencies in my 35 years in law enforcement. But I've never been on the other side of this. And it's not a comforting feeling being on the other side of it. I have to tell you that the way they responded and the professionalism that they showed me and my family that day was second to none. They didn't know who I was, not that it mattered anyway. They would have treated everyone the exact same way. And there's no doubt in my mind that they saved my life. 5 doctors later have all told me the same thing, that I was 1 to 3 minutes away from passing away, if dying, if I did not get that attention. Every tax dollar I paid, times 1,000, times 1,000,000, was worth it for that 6 minutes. And I think every resident in this town, the reason I'm coming forward with this story is because every resident in this town should know what our 911 system's like, what our police showed up. I saw the chief here tonight. They showed up to help first, fire, but then the rescue showed up. And EMS saved me, saved my family from tragedy, and I can't thank them enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I have some flowers to give them and a memento from the state police, if that's okay.
Let me, at this time, call forward all the EMS staff who wants to come forward and be recognized. Chief, you among them. And, there's enough space for you all to come if you want.
So first to Sarah, because that's the voice I heard. It was like an angel's voice that woke me up. And Sarah, I can't thank you enough for walking my family through this. That's my patch. Thank you very much for everything you did. You were the calm one, I was told, because my daughter got a little excited, but I really appreciate everything you did as well. Thank you very much for everything you did. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, if we want to get a picture.
And Chief, I don't know if you wanted to share a few words about your...
Just, I'm so thankful and grateful for Colonel Manning and that he's with us today and the family. And I can tell you, could be more proud of our paramedics. This is what they do. This is what we do. And I can tell you, having been a paramedic for 33 years, the two calls that I have the utmost respect for that can go wrong very quickly is someone having an asthma attack and somebody an allergic reaction. And that 6 minutes, it speaks for itself. The outcome would have been very, very different. So thank you, Colonel, and your family for recognizing us and the support to the town.
I'm Jim tonight, so I'm so proud. I've never really dealt with our EMS personnel before, and I'm just so proud of you. I know the whole town is so proud, and I'm forever thankful for you and for what you do for this town, all of you. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Jim. One last thing we got to do here is pass this resolution, and it reads, the Town Council of the Town of South Kingstown hereby offers its appreciation to South Kingstown Emergency Medical Services, Lieutenant Frank Capaldi, Paramedic Keith DeCesare, Paramedic Sarah Pete, in recognition of their professionalism during an emergency call to the home of Colonel James M. Manny on the evening of July 23, 2021. The crew's quick response and professional training likely saved Colonel Manny's life when he suffered anaphylactic shock after being stung by several yellow jacket bees. Members of the South Kingstown Emergency Medical Services personnel are commended for their expert care and extraordinary efforts in this life-threatening situation. The Town Council joins the Manny family in extending their appreciation and offering their congratulations for a job well done. Do I hear a motion?
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 12A.
Deb Bergner, I'll second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you all for coming and bearing witness to this. It's great to see this type of recognition, and it's become a regular occurrence, which is great. I don't know who would like to accept this resolution from me, but all right. At this time, we will also bring forward item 12B, resolution adopting a proclamation recognizing September 2021 as Military Suicide Awareness Month in the town of South Kingstown. We do have Tiger Patrick here. I don't know if... and Judy Munson as well. If you care to speak in favor of this resolution, you are welcome to. I know that this is something that we've done year after year now, as it's become much more of an epidemic with suicide among our veteran community.
Hi, Joe Patrick, Tiger Patrick, longtime South Kingstown resident and the commander across the street at VFW 916. This really was an endeavor by Erica Westbrook, who is our post auxiliary president, and Judy Munson, who is a district president for the auxiliary, but also one of our main people who does stuff at our post. So thank you for doing this. This isn't just us collecting a trophy, so to speak, to put in a scrapbook saying we did community outreach where we got South Kingston to do a proclamation. For years, the number has been 22 veterans who commit suicide. For the last decade, more or less, in the last year or so, the number went down to 18, which is sort of the accepted and acknowledged number of veterans who commit suicide here in the United States every day. That number is a little misleading. It sounds at a precursory look that, oh, we're making progress. And that may be true, and we're trying. But really, we're running out of Vietnam veterans who can commit suicide. And so they're older now. They've reached a point where their body's really tough, and they've, anyway, we're trying. And so for those of you in the audience or watching on TV or on the internet, it's a local issue too. Out in our monument at Wakefield School at Saugatuck Park, we have two names that are one on top of the other of two local residents, veterans who committed suicide in the last few years. The last was just last August, and I asked Terry Murphy to come and witness a little ceremony that we did, and Erica was part of that because she's a Marine, to be part of it because he was a Marine and he committed suicide, and we had a little ceremony for him. But right above him is another South Kingstown resident who committed suicide, totally different circumstances, but their names are there. And so that's kind of like my little spot I go. I always wipe it off of any grass or dirt stains kind of thing. We're trying. And so I will take this proclamation and I will go to Mel G's for breakfast, and I'll talk about how town of South Kingstown is trying and is part of trying to do the right thing and helping and take it for seriously and for real. And then I'll go to Belmont's and talk to everyone because everyone knows everyone at Belmont's. And then I'll go to, probably Bobby G's and have a couple beers and talk to those characters because they're open now, which is either really good or really scary. I'm not sure, but I'll be there. And so thank you so much for giving us the acknowledgement and the justification to be able to come up today. It means a lot, and so I'm grateful. And lastly, I just want to announce for our Veterans Day Parade, we're going to actually have a theme this year. We're hoping COVID allows us to be a little bit more, but we want to celebrate our women veterans. The Grand Marshals are my 3 officers who are dynamite combat veterans, boots on the ground, and we're inviting all women veterans or family members of veterans who served like in World War II to bring a picture and march with us. We wanted to celebrate the unknown or the under-acknowledged veterans out there, and those are our women veterans. And so, anyway, thank you so much. I think Erica has something she wants to say.
Oh. Good evening. I unfortunately am not a South Kingstown resident, although I would like to be. But I do. I'm very involved in the community over here through the auxiliary, through the VFW, helping veterans. As a veteran myself, it is a passion, and helping veterans who have TBI, who have PTSD. Unfortunately, one of the statistics that I just was looking up the other day, prior to 9/11, the latest statistical studies had shown that veterans were a little over 7,000 deaths, suicides. After 9/11, from the last 20 years of war, there is a little over 30,177 active duty and veteran personnel who have killed themselves by suicide. You can't walk down the street and not know somebody who hasn't been touched by suicide, whether it be general population or military. you know. As an acknowledgement from us to you, we do have a small token. There is a pin that our auxiliary has. It is a blue teardrop pin. It has boots on the front of it, and this is representative of the suicide epidemic, for lack of a better word. So we just wanted to give you guys just a little token to say thank you for acknowledging us, and thank you for continuing to support us in our endeavors.
Just normally I don't like to speak, but just real quick. I have a nephew who is currently serving at Camp Lejeune. He's a Marine. He met his wife in Afghanistan. She was a Marine. In the last 6 years, they have lost 11 members of their unit, 9 men and 2 women, 2 of them just in the last 2 weeks. So please, if you don't know who to get hold of, wealth of information back here. Contact the post. They can, if you know someone, they can get you connected with someone. They can get you connected with someone. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you all. I think we certainly can't lose sight of this issue. It's, I mean, the numbers have gone down somewhat, as Tiger mentioned, but it remains a terrible tragedy. You know, I was friends with one of those men that Tiger mentioned, and honestly, just 3 weeks ago, I lost another friend who was living out in California at this point. Same thing. So I appreciate this very much. I'll treasure that in their honor. So, you know, there are resources available if you're suffering out there, whether you're a military veteran or not. Please seek help.
I'm available through the post, but I actually work at a mental health center. So if y'all need anything, feel free to contact me.
Thank you. And this is the resolution as it reads. Military Suicide Awareness Month. Whereas family matters, support matters, and every military veteran matters, this September, Suicide Prevention Month encourages veterans and their loved ones to focus on the things that give life meaning, the things that matter. Anyone who knows a veteran can help. And whereas, whether a veteran has just returned home or served years ago, their experiences remain with them. Their wounds might not be visible, but they need our attention. We can support veterans who are dealing with challenges of all kinds. We're in this together. And whereas the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs urges groups and individuals nationwide to stay alert for signs of suicide risk in the veterans they care about, if you're concerned about the veteran in your life, lending a hand doesn't have to be hard. Just talking about it opens the door to finding support, and the Veterans Crisis Line can help. And whereas the first step in preventing suicide is to understand the warning signs, people may show signs of risk before considering harming themselves. Warning signs include hopelessness, anxiety, agitation, sleeplessness, or mood swings, rage or anger, engaging in risky activities, increasing alcohol or drug abuse, and withdrawing from family and friends. Whereas the Veterans Crisis Line is a free, confidential resource that veterans and their families and friends can access any day, any time, trained professionals at the Veterans Crisis Line, many who are veterans themselves, are ready to listen, providing free, confidential support 24/7, 365 days a year. And whereas the VA counts on grassroots networks and community organizations to spread the word that support is just a call, click, or text away, it's up to all of us to get educated, get involved, and take action to help veterans access the support and care they deserve. And now, therefore, we, the Town Council of the Town of South Kingstown, proclaim September 2021 as Military Suicide Awareness Month in the town of South Kingstown, and request our residents to let a veteran know they are not alone and that they matter.
Motion to accept item Resolution 12B.
Lori McEntee, second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you for your work. a good evening. Thank you. All right. Back to the regular schedule. Item 4 on our agenda is the approval of minutes of previous meetings.
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 4A, B, and C.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries unanimously, and that brings us to the consent agenda.
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries unanimously as well. That brings us to item 6, licenses. 6A is a resolution granting victualling and holiday sales licenses to ACL, doing business as Audrey's Coffee House and Lounge, 60 South County Commons Way of Wakefield, subject to approval by the wastewater superintendent, Rhode Island Department of Health, and Rhode Island Division of Taxation. Application by Jared Haben.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jared Haben. Thank you very much for having me. And also, just in the wake of everything that we saw tonight, I just wanted to personally thank, on behalf of my family, all the servicemen and women. I know they already left, but the EMS and the paramedics. As someone who is a very big superhero comic book fan, and especially in the wake of the September 11th attacks, it's always nice to be reminded of the true heroes in this world. So just personally, on behalf of myself and my father, who's in the row, who also served, I just wanted to thank all the men and women that serve, and police officers, firefighters, and everybody else.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about Aubrey's Coffee House.
Yes, so my name is Jared Haben, and I was born and raised in Warwick, Rhode Island. I went to Vets before it closed, and worked in the restaurant industry for about 10 years of my life, and always wanted to own and operate my own business. And I used to go to the Brood Awakenings in South County Commons many times, and when the space became available, I'd always wanted to own and operate my own coffee house that also served martinis. My favorite place to go in Rhode Island is a place called Main Street Coffee, which is in East Greenwich, and I just love it so much. And I always told myself if I owned my own business, I would want to replicate something like that. That's a coffee shop with couches and chairs, and we have a stone fireplace in the space as well, and really create a cozy environment where friends and family can gather, sit down, have coffee, sit in front of a fireplace on a nice leather couch, hopefully, and have great conversation, but also a place where men and women, professionals, students can come in, open a laptop, and get work done as well. I love South County Commons. I love the area. I love the community in Rhode Island. So that's a little bit of an overview of what Audrey's Coffee House and Lodge would hopefully be.
Questions? What will your hours of operation be?
So right now, it would be Monday and Tuesday from 6:30 in the morning till 5 p.m., Wednesday and Thursday from 6:30 in the morning till 10, Friday and Saturday from 6:30 in the morning till 11 p.m., and then Sunday from 7 in the morning till 3 p.m.
Thank you.
Do you have an opening date?
We're hoping for mid-October. Yes, hoping for mid-October.
Other questions?
So the part about the martinis, that's phase 2? This isn't a liquor license, is it?
No, so I am also staying here because I am applying for a liquor license as well, which is why it's still tentative as to, when we might be opening. I've been debating whether doing a soft opening, if I do get approval to open my doors before I get approval, hopefully, for a liquor license, but still working that out.
Any other questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 6A.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Is there anyone opposed?
Bless you.
Seeing none, the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. We'll look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That brings us to 6B, a resolution granting theater and dance licenses to South County Center for the Arts, doing business as Courthouse Center for the Arts of Kingstown Road in West Kingston, subject to approval by the police chief, application by Marianne Almonte.
Hi.
Welcome. And just state your name for the record, even though I just...
Marianne Almonte.
And so tell us about the theater and dance that's ongoing.
The theater.
is we use the theater to have concerts there. Right now, we don't have any of our children's programs, so we haven't used it for the children's theater at all. We try not to have theater there, so we're not in competition with the, what is that called again, Tara?
Contemporary theater.
Contemporary theater. We like to be an integral part of the community. So we have the concerts to raise money for our free programs in the arts, in theater, and music for children, and what we call inclusion programs because they have what we like to call differently abled children in them. COVID shut us down March 13th of 2020. We've had no income except for the kindness and generosity of the community and donations. So getting back into the concerts, we're not at full capacity because of COVID and the masks and the scare. The only income we have is the bar. Working alone, I'm sure you've read my emails, and I'm sure Susan's shared my thoughts with you. I just showed Terry my business email, had 16,500 emails. I work alone. I have no staff. It's impossible to pull off. So I missed the deadline on all the licenses. Everything was pulled. It was even pulled off the computer system that we upload them into. Most of the time I just go in and add my insurance form that's up every year, which I have. Unknowing to me, I didn't have the licenses, so right now we're having the concerts anyway because, like I said, the bar is our only income. We don't make any money on the concert tickets. That goes to the bands and the sound men and the overhead. So I have ADD, so I totally forgot the question now. What do we do? I'm using a caterer's license to keep the bar open, but we're losing money on that. It costs us far more than we'd ever take in the bar, but we can't have our customers not happy, so we're doing it that way. So they dance. There's not a lot of dance. It's a stadium-style setup, so there's maybe 15 to 30 people on the dance floor at tops. A lot of them will just stand up in their seats and dance. We're not at our full capacity ever. We have 289 we're allowed to per the fire department. We rarely go over 175. We do leave a little bit of a dance floor on either side of the stage, but like I said, it's never more than 15, 30 people tops. Like the Earth, Wind, and Fire concert that you all missed last weekend. It's wonderful. You should come out and see it. But like I said, the concerts are just to raise money for the other programs, which we haven't brought back into play because we're still paying off all the bills for the damages done through COVID. That was a long haul.
I can imagine. Tough building to upkeep, too, I imagine.
Falling apart daily. It's crazy. The boilers broke down to the tune of $22,500, but the Rhode Island Foundation has helped us with that. The Champlin Foundation has helped us a little bit. And then we had a donor give us money for different areas in the building, and one of the things was they wanted us to fill the oil tanks because we hadn't filled them in 30-some-odd years. So we filled the oil tanks, and the oil tanks leaked. So we have to replace the oil tanks. It's never ending, but it's a beautiful building, and I say we, it's just me and my COVID cray-cray personality that's taking care of the building alone. We're trying our hardest to keep it there. It's a beautiful piece, and you know it, I don't know if you know, it has a reverter clause, so if we close down, it can't be used for anything else except the arts. We had some brilliant judges and lawyers back then that really didn't want to leave that building, so they wrote us a nice little reverter clause. So I don't know what you'd put in there, but it has to be art-related. We're on the edge. Please, please approve these licenses. And please come and dance.
With that in mind, first, are there any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 6B.
Deb Bergner, I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you at the next meeting, I imagine. Oh, October 12th meeting. Sorry. That brings us to 6C, a resolution granting victualling and holiday sales licenses to R.I. Guys Donuts, doing business as R.I. Guys Donuts, Fortin Road in Kingston, subject to approval by the Rhode Island Department of Health, application by Ryan Ziola.
How you doing? Good evening. My name's Ryan Ziola.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us about R.I. Guys Donuts.
Yeah, sure. So, again, my name's Ryan. I've worked in the donut industry and the food industry for about 12 years. I was a general manager at Alley's Donuts in North Kingstown. I've been doing donuts for a long time. R.I. Guys Donuts is going to be hand-cut, homemade donuts and donut cakes. It's going to be a little bit different twist, a little gourmet, a little, we like to call it craft donuts, kind of trying to go for our own genre. But, we really would love to come to South Kingstown and, get right on campus and get busy. We're almost there. So, our approval would be great, but, we'd love to be involved in the community. We would love to get into local sports sponsorships, you name it, that's what we want to do. I have 5 kids of my own. Donuts is pretty much all we know. Me and my fiance have both been doing donuts for over 10 years, so it's just, we've been working for somebody else for a long time, and we would just, love the opportunity to be able to do it on our own, and teach other people, the ways. And, I don't like to say it, but there's, work ethic's not the same anymore. So, the way I learned was, get your crap done and do it right first time. And, I would really like to bring some people up under my wing and really bring them into the work ethic, the community with better work ethic.
Thank you. Do I hear any questions? Comments? All right.
Motion to approve 6C.
Rory McEntee, second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you so
Good
much.
luck.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right. 6D, a resolution granting a holiday sales license to Core Fitness of Wakefield, doing business as Planet Fitness, Old Tower Hill Road, Wakefield, subject to issuance of a certificate of occupancy and approval by the Rhode Island Department of Health, application by Jennifer Littlefield.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm talking on behalf of Planet Fitness.
Could you just bring that microphone down a little bit?
Yeah. My name's Courtney. I'm just talking on behalf of Planet Fitness.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
I think many people are probably familiar with Planet Fitness because it's a big brand. Yeah. But if you want to tell us a little bit about your offerings, that'd be great.
Yeah. I wasn't really prepared, but just here, happy to be in Wakefield. Obviously, Planet Fitness, the judgment-free zone with cleanliness, offering free fitness training, tons of state-of-the-art cardio, strength equipment, free fitness training. So we're just excited to be here.
Good. Any questions?
When will you open?
October 1st. That's what we're aiming for.
Any other questions? Or do I hear a motion?
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 6D.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, very good. That motion carries unanimously. Good luck.
Have a good one.
Thank you. 6E, a resolution granting a miscellaneous permit to conduct the Angry Unicorn Half Marathon 5K road race on Sunday, November 13th, 2022 at 7, is that right, 2022? Okay, just checking. At 7 a.m. to Ocean State Multisport, East Providence, subject to the execution of a hold harmless agreement and certificate of issue insurance in the amount specified by the finance director. Application by Gary Manesian. Is Gary here? Or anybody to represent?
Council President, Mr. Manesian indicated to us after the agenda was published that he had a conflict with this evening, so if you would approve a continuance, I can put him on the next meeting.
We can do a continuance, or, this is something that we've had in town for a couple of years now. I don't know if folks want to approve it in his absence.
Motion to approve item 6E.
Rory McEntee, second.
All right, we have a motion. I think we have a second here that I heard. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously as well. I'll save Gary the trip. 6F is a resolution granting a miscellaneous permit to conduct the Oktoberfest. We can take perhaps the next three items together. F is a resolution granting a miscellaneous permit to conduct the Oktoberfest Art Festival on Saturday, October 2nd, 2021, on Main Street between Robinson Street and Kenyon Ave in the municipal parking lot from 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. to the Wakefield Village Association. Subject to the execution of a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town and issuance of certificate of insurance naming the town as an additional insured for the event in the amount specified by the finance director. This is an application by Janet Burtwell. G is a resolution granting a temporary mass gathering permit to conduct the Oktoberfest Art Festival on Saturday, October 2nd on Main Street. Application by Kenneth Burke. And H is a resolution granting a Class F1 19-hour beverage license to the Wakefield Village Association of Wakefield for the Oktoberfest event to be held on Saturday, October 2nd from 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. in the parking lot at 323 Main Street. Application by Kenneth Tetzner. Got 3 different people to apply. Congratulations. But only one here tonight.
Correct. Yes, Ken Burke, I'm here representing Wakefield Village Association as their event coordinator. Ms. Burwell is on vacation. Mr. Tetzner is at his bachelor party, and they've asked me to attend on their behalf. So you do have the 3 requests in front of you. I can say that this year has been a little challenging. We've been doing a lot of coordination with public safety, EMS, police, and the fire marshal. So we've got, I think, a polished event, more behind the scenes as far as crowd management, police patrols, and we're going to have an ambulance at the All That Matters parking lot directly abutting the event space. As you may recall, this is an Oktoberfest event that we, Wakefield Village Association, kind of took it on themselves about 5, actually counting COVID, 6 years ago. This will be our 5th Oktoberfest event. And music, artists, street closure on Main Street from noon to 5, a touch a truck event during the daytime, very deliberately targeted for families earlier in the day, and a slow segue to more of a PG-13 feel in the evening. So that is the general pro forma. This year we do have a few twists. I am introducing a flamenco dance troupe. Has nothing to do with Oktoberfest, but that's not the point. We want diversity in our programs, and we want to really entertain the local crowd. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have, but we most certainly have done our due diligence with public safety. The insurance certificates are queued up at Gates Insurance. And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions?
I know this takes an inordinate amount of volunteers. So how could one get to you to volunteer to become?
Thank you, Councilwoman. We do have a number of core volunteers that are starting to do outreach. Michelle Severo is one of them in Matunic, so she's working really hard to pull folks together. Simplest way is to go to our website, wakefieldvillageassociation.com, and you'll find links on how to reach out to us. We also monitor our Facebook page very regularly.
Other questions? Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 6F, G, and H.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, very good. That motion carries unanimously. Looking forward to it again. And item 7 is a public hearing relative to an application for expansion of a license to keep and sell alcoholic beverages in South Kingstown in accordance with the general laws of 1956 as amended as follows. This is a Class B victualler liquor license. Application for the expansion of a Class B victualler liquor license by 629 Succotash LLC, doing business as Matunic Oyster Bar, 629 Succotash Road, by Perry Razzo, member for the 1,500 square foot rooftop deck that was previously constructed to accommodate the allocation of seating due to COVID-19 restrictions, conditioned upon no music or amplified music allowed on the roof deck in accordance with a special use permit granted November 18th, 2020 by the Zoning Board of Review. further defined in a site plan dated July 20th, 2021, on file in the town clerk's office. Said expansion is contingent upon the issuance of a certificate of good standing from the Rhode Island Division of Taxation, filing of a certificate of insurance evidencing required liability coverage, compliance with all town ordinances and regulations, the payment of any municipal taxes and user fees and arrears to the town, and the correction of any fire code violations. Hold on a second. Is there anything to read into the record, Susan, for this one? Very good. I'll let you take it away, sir.
Thank you very much. My name's Josh Parks. I'm here on behalf of Matunic Oyster Bar. Mr. President, you stole my thunder. You encapsulated much of what I was going to say there. So I won't add too much to the papers that we've submitted. We're here to make permanent the rooftop expansion that the council graciously allowed us to do just under a year ago as COVID was breaking out. It didn't increase the capacity of the restaurant at all. As you mentioned, there's no music up there, so we're not adding to any traffic problem or noise problem. It's ended up being a real nice feature for the community to have some drinks and some food up top and watch the sun go down. So it's been a great boon to operations. I think it's been a great add to the area, and we are very hopeful to be able to make this permanent. That's really all I have for you. Mr. Razzo, the owner of the Oyster Bar, is here, so we're happy to answer any questions that the council members may have.
Wonderful, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Council.
Hi, Perry. I'm sort of your neighbor. Anyway, I'm frequently on Succotash Road all the way to East Matunic Beach. The deck's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, great. Just a quick question. So how could the 1,500 square foot deck not increase the capacity of the restaurant? Just that's what he just said. So I just was.
It removes seating from other areas in the outside area. So if you've been there since COVID, you'll see the patios more spaced out.
Okay, but then it doesn't. To be very honest, I don't go during the summer because I like to go to the Oyster Bar and not wait 90 minutes. But I go in the other 9 months of the year. But it seems like the area, I guess, from the hostess stand over to the water, seems like that used to be where we would wait and sit around.
Right.
Now it seems like there's seating there too.
Yeah, we removed the bar because it was because of COVID and people weren't allowed to sit next to each other at the bar, and we removed it and we were able to put tables there instead. And the model of reservations has worked out for us, so it fills in the lulls, and instead of everybody coming at 7 o'clock on a Saturday and there being a lot of traffic on the road, it has kind of filled in our lulls and knocked down the peak, so that instead of everybody coming at once. So the model has worked for us to really help with the traffic issue that we had on Succotash. So we like that.
Yeah, that's my next question. It's that road's super dangerous, very busy with people. I mean, we've had 2 years ago the person drove into the restaurant, and I just wanted to hear a little bit more about your traffic plan, maybe for the community, so that people are listening, so they understand how you're managing the traffic, and when you have a detail, when you don't have a detail. Do you have them year round or just 6 months? I don't.
Because we're knocking down that peak times, I'm certain that the issue has been reduced. However, there is certain times where you have multiple people coming in for takeout food, as well as reservations, and those there's several valets as well as parking lot attendants. I guess 6 during an average day in the summer. Okay. To help manage that traffic. Our guys that work for us are in the yellow vests, and the guys that work for the valet company have the blue shirts with the gray on them. Yep. And they're there to deal with the traffic when there is a need that I anticipate for additional help with that to get a detail. I will attempt to get the detail. For example, this last weekend, big weekend anticipated. I tried to get the detail for both Friday morning and night, Saturday morning and night, Sunday morning and night, and Monday morning and night. And of those 8 shifts, we'll call them, there was only availability for 2 details. And there's also a calling for people not wanting the lights on the road, and so there's some people that don't want it, some people that do want it. I just want it to be safe, and so when there's cars easily moving off the road, which those 6 people are there to make sure happens, I'm comfortable with that, cautious but comfortable when it comes to a weekend like, say, Labor Day or Memorial Day, and we want to make sure that, or around 4th of July. But the other side of that is, everyone's busy, and it's not always, getting a detail isn't just, isn't always that easy.
I know. I don't mean it to sound, I think your restaurant's amazing.
Thank you.
It is delicious.
Thank you.
Get the tuna, that's what we get. So, but I just worry because it's just a very busy traffic. We have someone who asked about sidewalks in Succotash, the speed. It's just, I think we need to figure out how to make that area, because you're never going to not be successful. So we need to work to make sure that it's safe. That's my biggest concern. Not that it's not safe, but we just always have to have that eye on safety, because, I just don't. No one is safe going like anywhere there on a sunny day, because it's just not your traffic, just all traffic in that area is so busy on beach days.
I've done a few things, really everything that I could think of. One was to put in a crosswalk, one was to get a light over the crosswalk, and the crosswalk's been executed thanks to help from DOT, and the light has taken several years to get permitted, and finally got it permitted, and months to get ordered, and it should be here any week. And definitely willing to take any other measures that you could suggest as far as that goes. I mean, if people, and I'm guilty myself, we're going 25 miles an hour in that zone, which is the speed limit, it would be drastically reduced. I don't know those little things that say go too fast, obnoxious, but at the same time, they definitely get me to pump on my brake. They would be great. If any ideas you had as far as that goes. But I do feel that this model that we've had has really helped get people off the road, and the roof deck's part of that model.
I didn't know anything about the crosswalk or the light, so thank you for raising that piece of information to everybody, because I didn't know that was happening, so thank you. Just another question, because you're right on the pond, and just a curiosity thing about, like, you're on the sewer, right? So you're constantly pumping out because just the volume of people in the bathrooms and all of that stuff. Waste does this change in the rooftop deck impact how you manage that aspect?
No, we have quite a sophisticated septic system, and it is monitored closely, and reporting is done monthly. Tests are done monthly. The water that comes out of before it goes to the 99 flow diffusers that are under the lot, it is clear. It's pretty amazing. So it goes through an array of tanks and membrane filters, and it is that is all monitored and tested on a monthly basis by some other companies.
I'm 100% sure. I'm 100% sure you do all that, because I ran one day and you were getting pumped out that Sunday morning or something, and it just made me think, like, God, he must do that all the time. Like, and I'm like, and I ran by and go, he must have that on a schedule. Like, I had all that thought process, but I just wanted to ask it in person.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes certain tanks actually, like floor drains, for example, that receive chemicals. The engineers wanted to separate the chemicals so it didn't mess up the bugs, they call them, in the septic system. So the chemicals go to another tank that gets pumped out and removed, and that is part of this system that
I didn't have any doubt. I just was curious because it's just quite an operation in terms of all the details, and it's great that you're providing all this information and helping me feel like I always thought you did all those things, and now I know you
Be
do.
happy to show you. It's pretty intense, but
Thank you.
thanks.
Any other questions about this expansion of the surface area?
To speak to those safety concerns that Councilwoman Bergner brought up. Perry, you've been such a huge part of this community, especially during COVID.
Thank you.
Provided free meals. You've done a lot over the years. You mentioned that it's been difficult to get some of those safety measures in place. I hope that I can speak for the rest of the council when I say to please reach out to us if you think that there's any way that we can help lobby the state. I know because it's a state road. Let us know what we can do to help.
I appreciate it.
You've done a lot to help this community, and I'd
The
like to be able
community's
to pay
helped
that
us.
forward.
It's the reason we're here, so thank you.
Great. Any other questions from council members? All right, this is a... Oh, sir.
If I might interrupt for 1 minute, I apologize. There was one piece of paper we were waiting on, the backflow certificate, and I managed to get that at about 5 o'clock this evening. So I brought that with me. Oh, good. We're good, Susan. Thank you.
Very good. We got it. Yeah, I see. So this is a public hearing. We'll invite any members of the public who want to speak. You just have to come forward to the podium. State your name for the record, please.
How you doing? My name is Bill Madden. I'm a butter to the property, and I have 3 questions. Is keep and sell alcoholic beverages on the roof. What does that mean, keep and sell? The second one is, will there be a physical bar up on the roof where you could sit at chairs and stuff like that? And the third one is, do all the previous exclusions remain in place when you granted the roof as a permanent usage? You said no heat, no umbrellas, no music. Are they all still in place? So those are the 3 questions. What do you mean keep and store? Will there be a bar? And the third one is, do all the other restrictions stay in place? I don't have an issue with it. I just would like to know the answers to... Oh, I'm sorry. I'd just like to know the answers to these few questions and understand what they mean by that, because, it is a neighborhood as well. But it's a great place. I'm just asking the questions. Thank you.
Understood. Yeah, I don't know, Mike, if you want to speak to that language that exists in all the keep and sell. I don't know if it has any...
There will be no bar on the rooftop. It's just somewhat antiquated language so that the waiters and waitresses can continue to serve alcohol up there. But there will be no bar there. There can't be a bar there. And the restrictions, I assume, I know there's no music, et cetera, up there. I assume all the same restrictions will stay in place. And there was a third question. It was keep and sell. There was, no bar, no physical bar, and the restrictions stay in place. Sue was just grabbing the zoning decision just to confirm.
What are the restrictions? Because the gentleman mentioned umbrellas and heaters, but I don't remember that, so I'd like to know if that's true, that you can't have an umbrella up there? That seems odd to me.
I'm just reading. I don't see that restriction in the permit. I don't want to tie us to more restrictions right now. But the goal here, just so we're all clear, is to exactly
I don't recall
as we've been
ever-
going this summer, is to keep that keep things going as they have been.
I don't recall us ever putting a restriction on an establishment that they couldn't have an umbrella or an outdoor heater.
Well, perhaps you can ask if there are others who want to ask questions, and we're looking at the zoning decision.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Hi, Trish Gleason. I am also in a butter. I just have one question. It is a 3rd floor. There is only, as far as I know, one means of egress from that rooftop, and they do have to go down 3 floors. If there was ever a fire, any emergency, is there any thought of adding some type of other egress?
I'll speak this way because you asked the question. I do know that the roof has been, it's got all the appropriate fire permits. To the extent that, anything is required, we'll of course, work to stay in compliance. But I do know that as things currently exist, it's got the proper legally required egress.
Good evening. It's Jamie Gorman, building official. So 49 is the maximum occupant load for the rooftop deck. Anything beyond that, they'd have to create another means of egress, like an exterior stairway. So I know currently he's under that 49, but if you were to increase the capacity, that would be contingent on the additional stairway.
Understood.
And we have confirmed the zoning decision. You're right with your memory. There's no prohibition on umbrellas or heaters up there. The prohibition is specific with regard to music or amplified music.
Other questions from council members?
Well, this gentleman in the back, too.
You're closer to the microphone, so.
So, Mr. Gorman, 49 total, is that 49 plus 49 not residents, patrons, or total? Like staff?
That'll be total occupants, so all persons.
Okay.
49.
All right, very good.
So how many tables are up? I've never been on the rooftop, so I only dream because my friends are all doing it. But how many tables are there, and is there seating for 42 or something like that?
There's 11 tables up there.
So like 11 four tops. Okay.
Some are 2 tops, some are 4 tops.
Okay. So then you're under the 49.
Yes. Now, sometimes the 4 top turns into 6 top, sometimes the 4 top turns into 2 top, but that's the table layouts.
Okay.
It's first come, first serve, so. Yeah, well, you need you to speak into the microphone, sorry.
Bill Madden again, I'm sorry. Did he say my recollection was correct or no?
No.
Incorrect.
Was that meeting recorded?
So I'm reading right from the decision, and there's
It's that, but is it right?
nothing. There's no prohibition on heaters or umbrellas anywhere in the zoning board.
Could we-
Now,
could
maybe
we-
it was discussed.
No.
But if it was discussed, it didn't get added to a decision as part of one of the conditions of.
Well, how would we know that if it says during the meeting that there'll be no umbrellas, no heat, no enclosure rooftops? Can we listen to the recording? Could I come down and listen to the recording? Because I know that was in there. That's all I'm saying.
And Susan's telling me the zoning board meeting would be available for you to listen to.
Okay.
So if you were to check tomorrow with the clerk's office, they'll be able to let you know how to go about doing that.
Well,
But
let me.
in terms of the legalities, it's the decision of the board which guides the council, and that decision does prohibit music, amplified music, etc., but not.
So you didn't get in there about the umbrellas, the heaters.
That's not in their decision, no.
If the recording is in there, is it in there?
I have no idea.
No, if we listened to it and it said there'll be no heaters, no umbrellas, and it didn't get put into the written document, is it still a valid motion? No.
Yeah, so many times at a zoning or other meeting, even at these council meetings, a lot of things are said, but when the decision is made, only those matters that are voted on in the motion make it into the decision. So although it may be that they were discussed, if they didn't make it into the decision.
I think the man read what was going to become the decision, and those words were in his verbal language. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And the second part, when I believe there were other restrictions as well as the a bar and stuff. So does he? if he was intending to do this, does he have to apply for a new permit to put umbrellas and rooftop enclosures up there, or?
No.
No. So he can do whatever he wants up there as long as he doesn't go over the building height restrictions?
So there's not an issue with building height at this point, because that's already been permitted. So the rooftop is permitted at the level it's at.
The floor itself. No umbrellas or stuff like that. Can't put like the big circus tent up on the roof like that's on the patio now?
So, I'm listening to you, but I'm
Okay.
also looking at this decision. It talks about signs and traffic safety. It talks about utilities, trash storage, off-street parking, ingress and egress, etc. And it talks about the no amplification, but it really does not address anything with regard to umbrellas and heaters.
Okay, I'm good with that. When can I come and listen to the recording of the meeting? I should have taped it myself, but I didn't.
So Susan can explain. The decision's dated November 30th, 2020. The meeting was held on November 18th, 2020, and it can be heard on ClerkBase. There's a way for you to actually go on to ClerkBase on the town's website, and you can pull up that meeting, and you can listen to the whole meeting.
Okay.
If you have any problems in access, you can call the clerk's office.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm Thelma DeBoner. I'm a neighbor. My question is the number of people. Does that include the help? I mean, if you're allowing 49 or 42 people, does that include the help, or is that just the patrons?
That was, we just had that answer. So 49 is total
With
guests
help.
and servers there. But
I had a
it's,
cousin who was burned in this station fire, so it's very, when you think about that, and when you live so close and you see all those people up there, it's a worry.
Any other comments from the public? Any other comments, questions, concerns up here? All right. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. Do I hear a motion on 7A?
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 7A.
Second.
All right, motion second. Any discussion?
I think we would be remiss to not say how wonderful that the Matunic Oyster Bar is to our community, but it's unusual for neighbors to come and express some concern. So while I certainly support Perry and all the good that he does for our community, I want to recognize that neighbors are coming forward with concerns, and just to, if this passes, and I think it will, just to be a good neighbor, be considerate to their concerns, and address some of their concerns. I feel like maybe there's a lot more that's unsaid that they're concerned about, and I just want to recognize that we all live here and shop here, and just to be a good neighbor to the community that hosts an incredibly nationally recognized restaurant. That's all. That's how I feel.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Is there anyone opposed to this motion? All right, that motion carries unanimously. Good luck there, guys. I know you don't need that. Hope to enjoy that rooftop seating at some point.
Thank you very much, and we hear your concerns, and we'll continue to be a good neighbor and make sure we're speaking with ours. Take care.
Night. All right, item 8, communications. Communication A from Doral Beasley concerning the state-owned property on Stonehenge Road in Kingston that was sold at auction on August 17th, and a response from the Assistant Town Solicitor Dorold is here. If you want to come up. And I know, Terry, if you want to give us a brief update on sort of what happened with that auction. And Dorold, if you want to go first, we can.
Okay.
Or
So I went to the auction, and it wasn't the 17th. The auction, I think, was on the 1st, September 1st, if I remember correctly. Anyway, so the winning bid was $370,000. The auction actually started at $250,000, and I had attended the auction with executive director of South County Habitat for Humanity, because he was also interested in what was happening with the property. When we had taken the walkthrough of the property a few days before the auction, we were appalled at the state of the building. In fact, that day after we had took a look at the building, he mentioned to me that it would probably take like $100,000 if the Habitat would have a building like that. It would take about $100,000 to fix it up and turn it into a duplex, for two-family duplex. But on the day of the auction, before the auction started, he mentioned to me that they had gone back and talked about this building, and in fact, they thought it was in such bad shape that they would just remove the building and then build something new off the slab that was there, right? So the thing that concerned me was that I hung around after the auction was over, and I ended up talking to the realtor who was actually doing the bidding for the person who ended up the winner. And this person owns about 7 or 8 restaurants in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And the realtor said that he has a hard time keeping people, finding people to work in these places, like a lot of restaurants are nowadays. So he was looking for a place where his employees could stay. Now, I've been talking about the fact that this town needs more workers' housing, and it sounded like a good thing. But then he mentioned that the people that work for him work 3 shifts, so it's like it might be a place where people would work, where people would be coming there all day long, to sleep, and then they would go back to work or whatever, right? Now, it's a 1-acre parcel, and I'm the tax assessor for Kingston Fire District. So just a couple of months ago, somebody subdivided their land and in Kingston. It took a 1-acre parcel, cut it in half. The half where they own where their home is one parcel, and the other half acre they're going to sell it. So that was assessed. The vacant land, it was assessed for $250,000. So the bottom line is, with Mr. Penny from Habitat for Humanity, was that this person ended up paying like top dollar for a building that is in such bad shape. You really don't know what he's going to do with it. So the next day, I called the auctioneer, because what concerned me is that this person who bought, the winning bidder, now has 75 days to figure out what he wants to do with the thing. But I wasn't sure if the winning bidder at any time knew about what our zoning issues were, and if the 3 people, 3 unaffiliated people could stay in a building at the same time and all that stuff. So I guess we got a couple of answers back from Providence. I'll let you talk about that. But anyway, so I'm still a little concerned about what the future is for this piece of property. So that's basically where I'm at. I live a half a mile away from it, and Mr. Penny from the Habitats, if they had been able to get something like that, they would put up a duplex or make it a one-family building, then with an attached apartment, so something that like Johnny Cake Center could rent it. But they were $200,000 would be the most they thought that would property be worth to do anything like that. And he said, like 5 years ago, there might have been 2 people showing up for the auction instead of 15, and you probably could have got her for $150,000.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Dorl. Terry, did you want to have any other thoughts on this?
Just to reiterate, first of all, thank you, Mr. Beasley, for gathering all of that information. Just to reiterate what I stated in the work session, with the conversations that we had with Johnny Cake Center and the Housing Authority, neither one of those agencies is really in a position to move forward with this type of property based on the condition that it's in. It would be a knockdown, and $370,000 to knock a building down and rebuild. You're talking, twice that to put something back up. We're just not in a position to move forward, particularly if we don't have an agency that would be able to embrace it and then move forward with it at this time.
Thank you. And I know, Mike, in the work session you talked about the unrelated persons restriction we have in town, and
in order to go beyond the three-person unrelated, they would need to go to the planning board. And there might be a need for a special use permit also from the zoning board. All that would have to happen. My assumption is before they actually begin constructing, before they get a building permit, they'd have to specify how many bedrooms, et cetera, and all that would come up at that point in the building office.
Thank you. All right. Do I hear a motion on this item?
I move that we accept communication item 8A and place it on file.
Second.
Motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries unanimously. 8E is a letter dated August 8th, 2021 by Donald Tencher concerning traffic safety on Succotash Road. Is Donald here? All right. I know we've already heard a brief update from the chief, and we've had some discussion in our public hearing. Do we want to do anything specific with this item?
Yeah. Is it possible that we reach out to the state representatives and senators and ask them to relook at sidewalks in East Matunic? I mean, we all know it's busy. We're acknowledging it in meetings, and then the only way to do it is to advocate for our needs of the town. Is there any value in directing that we write a letter to the state reps to ask them to pressure DOT to identify this as an area for sidewalks, as well as maybe some speed reduction measures? I mean, like I said, I go down that road, and I wouldn't travel on that road in the summer on a sunny day, ever. On foot, on bike, I wouldn't. People do.
Yeah.
What? So I guess I move that we direct the town staff and police chief to communicate with the state representatives and senators to pursue traffic measures that will mitigate traffic or sidewalks or speed and or speed traffic. Sorry.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Discussion? Just for my edification, even though it's a state road, would we have the ability to post one of those speed feedback signs somewhere along there?
Mr. President, yes, we do post our speed signs down there periodically, especially during the summer months.
I know.
Traffic is extremely bad. So we can definitely do that to try to quell some of the speeders that travel down the roadway. And certainly I'd be more than happy to author a letter to the State Traffic Commission requesting that they consider the idea of maybe going with sidewalks and doing at least a study to see if they can help us and assist us. Not my specialty, sidewalks, I don't know. I'm sure there has to be a certain shoulder on the road, et cetera, to do that. But I can't really comment on that, but I'd be more than happy to do anything I can to get sidewalks down there.
Thank you. We just had this conversation in May, you have the extra patrol during the beach days. I mean, it clearly is an area that we should focus on for 3 months out of the year, but so we have 9 months to come back at it. I mean, we had residents complaining that the traffic's backed up to Route 1. We just need to work collaboratively with any stakeholders who can advance some of the needs, whether it's the State Traffic Commission or the Rep. Fogarty or Senator Sosnowski, whoever can advocate for us. We just need to do that.
Good.
Sorry.
I do look forward to hearing feedback. I think it's been studied in the area, the idea of sidewalks. I know that there's a lot of complications with runoff and stormwater management in a coastal area like that, especially one that's vulnerable to sea level rise. But there's got to be something to be done. So, and certainly we can do some speed calming efforts. All right. We have a motion. We do have a second. Is there further discussion? Is there anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries unanimously. And that brings us to 8J, a letter dated August 11th from URI President Mark Palange to Council President Collins, advising of his intent to meet with local public leaders to discuss their perspectives on the university. That has been received. What would we like to do with that?
I move that we thank Dr. Palange for his letter. We reach out and organize a work session with the town council in the near future that meets his schedule needs.
Second.
Motion. We have second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries unanimously. 8M is emails from Stacy Green Bodzioni, Sarah Markey, Emily Comiskey, Dee Shea, and Lou Krastowski concerning the AFL-CIO mailer investigation report, and a response from Councilwoman Bergner to Ms. Comiskey. Those have all been received. I'm not sure we have anyone here who wrote any of those messages, except for Councilwoman Bergner, of course. I don't know if you wanted to lead a discussion or have a discussion here on this item.
I had asked at a previous meeting if we could discuss the exhibit that was removed. Is this an appropriate time to give
this is a good
the public an explanation as to what happened with that?
Absolutely. There was one exhibit removed, which I will tell you that before actually publishing the report to you, should have checked with Greg Mancini. I felt badly that I didn't, but the reason it was removed is because Mr. Mancini is involved with an organization called Build Rhode Island. He's not at all affiliated with the AFL-CIO. The meeting that took place had nothing to do with the student mailer. Actually, it had to do with a consortium. Build Rhode Island is a consortium of contractors that are in the business of construction, obviously. They had a lot of interest in what would happen in terms of if this bond went forward, what opportunities would be there, et cetera, et cetera. It had zero to do with the business involving the list of student names and addresses being made available to the friends of the Kingstown schools and then subsequently sent over to the publisher, et cetera. When I found that out subsequently, I took it upon myself to remove that reference in that exhibit because I felt that there are two main reasons. Number one was the credibility of the report itself. It was inaccurate information. It was in there as if it were a part of the entire plan to get these mailers out, and that wasn't true. And number two, I think it would have impacted negatively on the credibility of my office and my position as town solicitor to not immediately correct a factual error like that. As you know, there are many, many exhibits, many, many emails. There's a lot involved. There's still no excuse. I should have done my homework a little bit better when it came to that particular exhibit. I will tell you that in speaking with the individuals who contacted me immediately after it was published and then doing my homework, I came to the conclusion that it was wrong to have it in there, and I wanted to correct the record. So that is why.
I appreciate the explanation. I guess I was just a little confused because in the email, they discussed union completed projects.
Yeah, I'm sorry, union what?
Union completed projects.
Okay, yep.
That had already been completed elsewhere. So I was confused. I had assumed that it had everything to do with the AFL-CIO. One other inconsistency that I wanted to talk about real quick, and I think we touched on it earlier, was that in one of these emails, Ms. Badziani seemed to walk back what was written in her affidavit.
Understood.
So if we could get some clarification as to what, I mean, was the affidavit correct? Or is her latest email correct?
When someone signs an affidavit, I take it as being correct. An affidavit is a statement sworn under oath. If individuals later or afterwards walk back or try to explain or add more to what they said in the affidavit, they certainly have a First Amendment right to do that. But from my perspective, when something's in an affidavit, that is sworn under oath.
So the affidavit that we did get from Ms. Badzioni, I do recall our conversation that you said we tried to ask her additional questions and she refused to answer any additional questions. I'm mostly saying this so that the community knows we attempted to clarify some of the things that she wrote in the affidavit. She refused to provide any additional information. I do feel, as Councilwoman Rose does, that it publicly is now saying right here, I had no role. Additionally, I had no involvement in the creation of the AFL-CIO mailer. I feel like that's a clear contradiction to her affidavit because she was provided the information that was used in the mailer. We could not determine when the request was made of the superintendent, but the superintendent did provide the data. We couldn't ask any questions because Ms. Badzioni just said she was done answering and that was all she was going to provide. So I find it interesting that we have a 3-page email where it's a rebuttal when we could never engage in any conversation with her. It's very disappointing. I also would request that the email chain where Stacy Badzioni and Linda Savastano and Brad Defoe and Checkmate were discussing and sharing a picture for the mailer at the exact moment in time where Linda Savastano was providing the mailer. all of it is swirling in the same 2 or 3 days. And for Stacy to say I had no role in the creation of the mailer when she's sharing a JPEG called robotics and Linda is discussing its resolution, I can put it out there, but I also feel it's disingenuous to drip the information out instead of just saying we're going to add this to show Linda Savastano and Stacy Bazzioni and Checkmate collaborating on the creation of a mailer. I think I'm not a fan of the drip. I would rather put it all out there and have people get the information that they want rather than who you know and who's going to send it to you. Because I think that the community deserves the full information. I feel we have information all along that brought this to light, and then now it's not really the community and people are saying, well, just move on. And it's not fair when we have something that they don't have. That's how I feel, that chain from August 9th to the 10th where Linda and Stacy are communicating about a mailer and the creation of a mailer, and then she says she didn't do it and she had no role. It's strange.
So I have a bit of a different interpretation of that statement. I had no further role in the creation of the mailer. I think that's a physical creation. So I think here's what I feel about this situation. The whole thing could have been remedied the day after the mailer was sent to the students, right? We know that. We also know the basic facts here. We know that the Friends of South Kingstown Schools, Stacy Bazzioni acting for them, asked the superintendent for the addresses, names and addresses of the students, South Kingstown students, the vendors that were originate or located in South Kingstown, and the faculty, South Kingstown faculty. We know that was provided. That's been admitted to. We know Stacy Bazzioni then, in her affidavit, says she sent it to Brad Dufault at Checkmate, right? Then we know that mailer got produced and sent. I don't know what more we would want to know. What is the purpose, what is the intent, I guess, behind the excoriation of the people who have admitted their culpability? They have admitted it. They are no longer, they have relinquished positions. The chair of the school committee has stepped down because of this. The superintendent is no longer employed. Ms. Bazzioni is no longer involved in the Friends of South Kingstown Schools. I think right now it is up to the school committee to put forth the policies that are needed to protect. At the root of this, right, is the uproar is over that the students' names were provided, right? The names were provided. There was a lot of ambiguity in the school policy. We see yes, we see no. There has been no criminal activity here. It is time for the school department, the school committee, to set the policies forth to make sure this cannot happen again, right? That the students' names are not divulged to whomever. Right now, Scholastic Books, the people who are taking senior photos, the yearbook people, the armed forces, there's a number of agencies that are privy to this information. If we are concerned, and rightfully so, about the health and safety and well-being of the students of South Kingstown, we need to make sure the school committee is putting forth policies to stop this from happening. I am in full favor of saying to the community, here's what we learned, we know what happened, we need to move on. We need to move on together to make sure that our students are safe and that our community feels secure in the knowledge as such.
Thank you, Deb. Any other commentary on item M here?
So I want to say I do agree with you. The school committee needs to be charged with creating those policies to ensure that this does not happen again. That being said, I do think we conducted this investigation, and there are pieces of the investigation that we have that, for transparency's sake, should be included. We agreed we are moving on from this, but we were not closing the book, I think is what I said last time we were here. So if we have the information, what is the harm in including that? I just think it sets the record straight, and it stops the rumor mill. I just don't see why we wouldn't include the information that we have. It's a very simple thing to do.
What information has not been made public? Because I am all in favor of letting everybody see everything. So tell me what pieces do we as a committee need to address? Because I'm more than willing to do that.
So
you're going to answer her? I'm asking Jess.
Well, I think Councilwoman Bergner already
because you
brought it up just now, 5 minutes ago.
So the school committee will address the policy changes. We all agree on that. I think it's important to note that we have not had a public conversation with the community about the topic, because the rollout of the investigation report fell in a way that we were having a special meeting. We didn't include it on the agenda, and then we didn't meet for 30 more days. So the community has never had any opportunity to have any questions, answers, anything. The piece that's missing is what I had been asking for multiple times from the town solicitor that I forwarded to him on. Finally, I found it. It was hard because there are a lot of attachments. The exchange that I'm referencing is from July 1st, where the school department lawyer provides the exchange between Stacy Bazzioni and Linda and Check Me, and they are collaborating on a file that is used in a mailer.
So we know that. We know they collaborate.
So all I asked was, could that be put out? And then that was it. So that was what I was looking. I wasn't having a rewind of anything. I'm like, could we just attach another attachment to the report?
So all that does is support what we already know.
Correct. Okay. But we already knew it, but 30,000 people didn't know it.
That's all this email is about. Why wouldn't it be made public? Why?
So it's not a question of not being made public. I just want to be sure before I added more information to the report that that's the will of the. Of course, Councilwoman Berger has sent me all that stuff after the report was sent out, and so we're here tonight to decide whether or not you want me to amend it and add that information. It's that simple.
I have absolutely no problem adding whatever, any piece of any email that mentions this to the report to try to put this to rest. If that's what's going to put this to rest, because I am a firm believer that this community needs to move on. We need to start doing what's good and not looking back. So if this, again, this is how I voted right along with this entire investigation, is I wanted everything to be addressed to try to put anything that could be, I don't know, just used as a divisive ammunition between members of the community. I wanted it all out there so every question could be answered. And I have no problem as long as no one's being maligned or harmed by anything, any emails, making everything associated with this mailer public.
That's exactly what I was asking for.
Me too.
Mike Ursillo, what new information would be provided in the report if the amendment were to take place?
Right, so that would be exactly what Councilor Bergner mentioned when she was speaking about that, those dates in between where there is a chain of email. And what I would do is I would simply retitle the report, amend it as of certain date. I'd add a new exhibit, and that exhibit would be that chain of emails.
In your opinion, Mike, is that material information that is relevant to the report and should be added?
I think it's material to the public to know it, so that part I'm okay with. I just didn't want to do that without the council telling me to do it, that's all.
So the only initial concern I have is when you issued the report, and then a day or two subsequent to that had a reissuance or an amendment based on new information related to an exhibit, it created a lot of confusion in the public as to why that occurred. If we create another amendment, adding additional information, modifying the report, that creates further confusion to the public. I'm just trying to make sure that if we add additional items to a modified report, that it is material such that the public should have a want or interest in knowing that information that they can't already get from the report.
Compared to the other information that was placed in the report, I would say these additional emails would help, let's put it that way. And what I would foresee happening is having an amendment published. I could do it this week, send it out, and I think that'll be the end of it, because I don't think anything else has popped up since the report has been written. Not to my knowledge.
All right. So do I hear a motion?
It would be to authorize the solicitor to amend the report on the student mailer investigation to include the emails that Councilor Bergner referenced in her statements. I know you have the dates in front of you. I don't.
So moved.
All right, that was a motion. Do I hear a second?
So that's a motion to direct the town solicitor, but the additional letters from Ms. Bodzioni, Ms. Markey, and Ms. Kaminsky, can they be moved as well to the file? I mean, to the, where do those letters go when we say place them on file?
Yeah, so what's going to happen is they're going to be new exhibit. It's going to be a new exhibit to the report.
But they're public, these public emails, item M, whatever we're on, M?
They're already public.
Okay.
They're there.
Okay. So they don't get tucked into the investigation file? They just sit in the public agenda?
Yeah, I mean, they're part of the...
Right.
I mean, there's a lot that's become part of this whole...
I guess in my old school head, I was thinking, like, there's a file folder where we print everything out and we keep paper copy.
Electronic, I guess.
Right, that's all. No, so, motion and seconded, right?
Regarding Deb's point there, is there any acknowledgement in the report, or is there going to be, about the removal of that exhibit? I forget, was it O? Some type of recognition that was put in there.
I am more than happy in the amended report to put a sentence in about that, just so that we don't have the public as you confused about what happened there.
Right.
I'll do that also, since we're going to publish an amended report.
And thank you for your opening statement here as we began this conversation. I think it's good to sort of admit when we just get ahead of ourselves and put things in reports that might not be accurate. It's good to correct the record. So I'm proud of all the work that you've done.
Always best to correct the record, yes.
Thank you for that. So we have a motion. I'm not sure I heard a second, but...
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. Item O is a letter dated September 7th, 2021 from Larry Fish, Chair of the Economic Development Committee, requesting a joint work session with the Town Council and Planning Board to discuss zoning regulations in the Commercial Highway District. That has been received. We did discuss this briefly in the work session. Planning does have this issue on its plate, but it's a little further off in the future. What do we want to do with this communication?
Dory McEntee, I'll make a motion that we place 8O directed to the town manager's office and coordinate with the town manager, planning director, and the EDC as to a meeting to take place in the spring of 2022.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Discussion? Is there anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. Item P is an email dated September 8th, 2021 from Mark Levitt advising of his resignation from the EDC. That's been received. What would we like to do with it?
I move that we accept item P and we thank Mark Levitt for his service.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously, and that brings us to item 9, comments from interested citizens. Anybody who would like to speak, first come, first serve. State your name for the record, please.
Jim O'Neill, Matunic. Budget season. This ought to be very interesting this year. I think of the 20 years between the Broad Rock opening petition back in 2001, 2002, and the recent failed high school bond issue. Two things in common here. What happened back in 2002, I'll just give you a few numbers. I know most folks hate numbers. But it was called the middle school transition. And 2 years earlier, the school population began to drop. The idea of building Broad Rock started earlier. It was the right idea. According to most editorials and many of us out here in the public, opening Broad Rock was the wrong decision. Population had already began to drop in 2000, 2 years earlier. Over the next 4 years, that 2002 budget, fiscal year 2002 budget, school committee asked for 17.5%, $3.25 million above what would have been normally a 1.8, 1.9 million request from the town council. That $3.25 million, 21 years later, at the cost of the increase that the town council offered the school committee over the years, is worth close to $121 million. $121 million that we didn't have to spend if we did not open Broad Rock. Now, lots of crystal balls there, but NESDEC said population was beginning to drop like a stone before those doors opened. It was high risk. And Superintendent Harrington at the time said, well, I can save $1,325,000 with Plan B. School committee wouldn't go for it. They were gung-ho, we're going all in for this. That $1.325 million after 21 years is worth $35 million that the taxpayers could have had in their pocket. So now you have $120 million, you have $35 million. Unbelievable. And let me tell you again about numbers. In the 3 years after that budget request, we had 519 FTEs at the beginning of that. We wound up with 621.2, 102.2 more FTEs in those 3 years. The population dropped from 4,383 to below 4,000, a 10% drop, and a 20% increase in FTEs. How do you explain that to anyone in the public? You can't. It was misrepresentation. We had a school committee member resign over lies and et cetera, our fellow members of the school committee. Kind of brings me forward to what just happened with the bond issue here on the high school, because we have a record when we seem to open schools, despite dropping population, we seem to know how to spend money. And I fought from the bench up there. I spent 14 years up there fighting this. I think you probably all know that. And I feel vindicated, finally, when a more powerful group than I was finally told South Kingstown, you need to wake up. And that group was RIDE, the Rhode Island Department of Education. Deborah Gist came down here, the director, in 2010. The committees up there looking at the education funding formula said, and Deborah Gist said this at a meeting here, we were out of control with our spending. Out of control. I tried every year for 10 years. No one would listen. And what was that all about? In 2010, we received $10.6 million from the state, our own taxpayer money. 10 years later, we're at 4.9. And what's worse, what I brought up to my fellow council, but mainly letters that I wrote, at the same time, K through 12 budgets at the State House went from $800 million to $1.2 billion. We lost 50% over 10 years, and we didn't get anything of that increased money, of our taxpayer money in Providence. No one fought with me. Gina Raimondo winds up as treasurer and governor, and now the eighth removed as Secretary of Commerce from being President of the United States because she said arithmetic counts. We can't afford the pensions. We have to make changes. Arithmetic. And that was very important changes. Nobody likes to lose jobs or lose a COLA, but that's a whole lot better than losing your brother and sisters to job losses. But no one gave a damn. Just keep spending. So it's nice to feel the vindication, but I just wanted to give you a final little some comments on the dollars. I already told you about if Broad Rock had not opened, we're talking about $121 million, which, by the way, a chairman of the school committee said in 2012, we are completely over-facilitated. Completely, I'll finish this in a minute, completely over-facilitated, keeping us from program development. So I'll make this final wrap up pretty quick here. I told you about the $121 million. The $27.5 million was the cost that the state of Rhode Island took, RIDEM, plus what we lost of the increased budget, so we're looking at $40 million there. Dr. Hicks in 09, 10, 11, 12, we're going to close Curtis Corner if the population keeps dropping. 3,700, 36, 35, 34, another $800,000 per year that would have come to the taxpayers. So my worry is the budget, and what I'd like, Mr. Collins, if possible, and I know it's impossible, but it'd really be great to have a commission, just regular folks, a few seniors maybe living on fixed income, parents, of course, of school children, some small business, but somehow or another we need to have some group discussions on how we want to look at our school system. How many schools do we need open? We know we're over-facilitated. This shouldn't be a job fair, but we need to hear from regular people because all they do is just take the hit from the school committee council, and there's just no helping these people because no one believes it, but numbers never lie, do they? So anyway, hopefully you could put something together here because this budget season is going to be ugly, very ugly, because we are overstaffed, over-facilitated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Greg Sweet from Wakefield. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but the email that was removed from the report, what was that referring to, or did it have nothing to do with any of the mailer?
So we're in public comment here.
Oh, okay, so it's not questions. Okay, that's fine. That's something I would like to know.
But when I do I will say this, when I do the amendment, I'll have a little explanatory
Okay.
phrase in there.
Okay. When you guys just voted on putting in the emails that Deb talked about, it sounded like it was just the ones that Deb talked about. Are there any others that are not made public yet that could go in there also? That's just, it's a concern. It's not a question. One thing I did not get out of this, and maybe everybody else did, as some know, I asked for mailer lists too, for the same reason that they were using them. I would like to know what is Stacy's position within the town where she would be able to get them and a regular Joe Blow can't. I'd also like to know what the meeting was about with Build RI. Seemed premature to me, but another thing I'd like to know is when you guys were gathering facts and when lists were made and who sent them out and all that, did Jen know about did she know that she got the list before these questions were asked? I think that's important too. I know she got a promotion later on in Linda's, within a month of her leaving, I think. I'd like to know who paid for the mailers. I'd also like to know, apparently vendors and employees had their information gotten by apparently Linda. I would like to know what vendors anyways gave in whatever manner. I don't know if money was donated to Apple or what, but why would they get a letter? Doesn't make any sense to me. One thing that I don't think was found, or at least I don't understand that we don't know whether the names were deleted or not. We were told, yes, they were. It wasn't under oath or anything. So how do we know that they were deleted? I don't think anybody can say that they were, other than taking someone's word for it. I would love to know if on the computers that Linda wiped clean, I would love to know if you guys got recovered, or if that's the correct terminology, but recovered all the data off that. I know, well, I've talked to some computer people and they said it can be done. It's somewhat costly, but I think they said a couple $1,000. To me, that's money worth spent, well worth spending. To me, there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. I know you're happy, Deb, with where it is now. The big thing for me is not knowing whether the names really were deleted. I think that's huge. And I would think it would be huge for everybody else also. Question off that topic is, I might have missed it. Oh, go ahead. It's a statement. I don't know if it can't be answered, I guess. I see that you're still doing interviews for the school building committee. Did that start back up? If you can't answer
yeah.
it now, and I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
These are just questions I have that I'd like answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
I'm Doral Beasley. I was going to talk about the mess up there in Kingston with the library parking, but I guess we got a 12-month reprieve from URI. Nice of them. But there is an issue about the removal of the sidewalk on the east side of Upper College Road, so I'll be back to talk about that another night. Just briefly, I want to piggyback on what Mr. O'Neill was talking about. When school opened up this month, our cost per student is now over $25,000. That in and of itself is hard to understand, hard to believe that's that high, when we're $6,000 and $7,000 more than well-run school districts like East Greenwich and Barrington. But our cost per student in South Kingstown has increased 18% in just the last 3 years. So I'm going to ask a question. How is that possible? Because all the contracts written for employment, for teachers and then administrators and staff are 2% raises. And with benefits, the average increase, salary and benefits increase, percentage-wise, 2.8% a year. And yet, we've seen 6% increase in our cost per student over the last 3 years. How's that possible? It's possible because you guys, I'm not talking about, I always give the newly elected a term, their first term for newly elected, they get a pass. But the other three of you guys up there, you don't get a pass on this. Because we told you 2 years ago of the amendment to the Rhode Island general law that you could have used to reduce our cost per student for the last 2 years because of our decline in enrollment. But you decided you were going to you were doing the taxpayers a favor by keeping our tax rate the same. Well, you didn't. You didn't. This year, right now, we have our student-to-teacher ratio in South Kingstown is 9 students per teacher, maybe a little over 9. You know what other school districts in Rhode Island have that ratio? Nobody. That's not even a normal school district. A well-run school district is like 12 to 1, 12 students per teacher. Ours is in the 9s. We have our FTEs per student this year, 5.6 students per employee, 5.6. In 2014 to 15, that number was 6.75. So we've gone in the wrong direction. Because year after year, when we're losing 90, 100 students a year off of our enrollment, you don't do anything about it. So now we have all these people working here, and in 2 years, the average salary for our teachers, in South Kingston will be $100,000 plus $40,000 on top of that for benefits. It's unsustainable. And it's the reason why we don't have new schools. It's the reason why we have $60 million worth of fixes for the schools we still have open. It's the reason why we can't build a new high school, because we have too many darn people working here that shouldn't be here. People think that the more you spend per student means that that your community is that's the place to go. You know, they spend $25,000 per student. That's got to be the place I want to live with and raise my family. It's got nothing to do with that. There's no equating what we pay from what we get, because when you look at our RICAS scores for the last years that was available, we're in the bottom half of the state.
All right, Earl, if you want to wrap
I'm just going to let you know that I'm going to be on your case continuously between now and next April when the budget gets done, and we're going to fix this mess.
I would expect nothing less. Is there any other public comment tonight? Comment up at the table?
It's a different subject, so I always wait to see if anyone else would stand up.
Go ahead.
Story with Colonel Manny this evening was really great news that the EMS, incredibly important, which brings me to South County Hospital, South County Health. I listened to the August meeting of the planning board, and I'm absolutely shocked at their demands of this hospital for the internal expansion. This is not growing the master plan. 14 years I was on the council, and years before that working with Steve Alfred. The cooperation, the accommodation, everything was like a handshake agreement. That hospital is a gem. It is our growth engine for business and health in this community. I am astounded that they're treated with requests for documents that might even submit them to their competitors to know proprietary investments they're going to make in their own hospital. This is incredible. I'm a realtor. You know what everyone that comes to this town wants? They can enjoy the few days at the beach, fishing, dining, but they all want a hospital with great credentials. I think last year they set a record for births in this area, South County Hospital. What this hospital is doing is bringing new specialties to South County. This is something we want. Apparently they put their plan in back in April and May. Nothing is done yet. They've gotten no response. They're going to come up with a new ordinance to offer the town council over the next few months. But these are delays, and delays they cannot afford. Because if you read the newspapers, lifespan is on a march. And they may wind up running the healthcare system in the entire state of Rhode Island, a monopoly, if you will. And working with Brown University, they'll have hundreds of millions of dollars of already medical interest and facilities, as well as cash coming in. We need this hospital. We need it to be competitive. So I would ask you, maybe to ask Mrs. Murphy, I think she should call President Aaron Robinson and say, listen, what can we do for you? But what planning is requested here of these folks when all they're doing is reconfiguring their campus? And we're putting them through this? Shame on us. This is a gem and a gold mine, and health is what this world is all about in the future. So I would ask this council to really step up and not waste another day with what planning did, what I heard at that August meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments at the council table here?
I just feel like we should recognize the residents who come forward. I feel like we hear you, and I know how challenging it is to come to the microphone and speak. Some things I think we can direct the town staff to answer during the town manager's report, the town solicitor. I think the hospital we could maybe address some of Greg's questions about the mailer, possibly, because we did talk about it. Maybe, Greg, you didn't hear. We did talk about it, but I just wanted to it's very hard to stand up at the microphone and then to have no feedback from us. So I know I speak for only myself that I value that you come up and you ask questions and that you care about these issues. I did want to say that I feel like the theme, perhaps with the new interim superintendent, we had someone talk about, Doral talked about the budget, that maybe we could have a work session prior to the budget work session to meet the new superintendent, just to sort of begin that relationship building. I know they have a lot to do. It's probably not the time now, but maybe between now and the first budget meeting that we don't begin with that as the first meeting. So I don't know how anyone else feels about that, but maybe later in the fall, having that meeting happen. And then I feel like we missed the passing of Pat Shanley. He passed away prior to our meeting, or right at the time where we met the last time, and I just wanted to recognize that Pat Shanley was a state representative for a long time. He's an active community member. He was obviously a member of the Board of Canvassers, and we didn't ever say anything about his passing, and I just wanted to publicly say how much I enjoyed talking with Pat. I wish Elaine and all of his family whatever peace and healing thoughts for their family as they grieve. And then I just wanted to mention that we didn't talk about September 11th as a council, and again, the theme of earlier with the first responders, as well as military suicide awareness. They all remind me to be thankful for the community members who have served as first responders, as well as to recognize the thousands of people who passed away on September 11th in the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and in Pennsylvania. So that's it.
Thank you. Other comments up here at the council table? Just echo those final thoughts, Deb. I think, 20th anniversary of 9/11, obviously a big moment to reflect on the past 20 years. I think, those two resolutions tonight really spoke to a couple aspects of, that event and the resultant, war on terror and the conflicts that have, claimed lives, of course, in combat, but so many more after they've returned home, and to this epidemic of suicide. On the one hand, and the aspect of just that military experience, but then also, recognizing our EMS locally for the work they do here, but of course the heroism that was exhibited, 20 years ago. So obviously a lot of emotion around all these issues. I just want to, pay my respects, all of us, to all of the people who have gone through suffering through these years, and recognize the people who've shouldered all the responsibility of carrying us through the difficult times. So thank you for that work. All right, that brings us to the town manager's report.
Just a couple of items to point out. I would just like to recognize the work of all of the police department, the public services staff, the EMS staff, our communications staff, Union Fire District, and Kingston Fire District for their response to Tropical Storm Henry, and then following on the heels of that, the floods from Ida. Town staff has been working diligently, continues to clean up after Tropical Storm Henry. our highway and parks division folks and crews are still on the road clearing debris from the storms. So I want to make sure that I recognize the town staff for the hard work that they've done over the past few weeks from those two weather events. A couple of other things that weren't on the manager's report. We talked a bit about speeding on local roadways, and that has come up not only for Succotash Road, but also Laurel Lane recently. And our chief had mentioned that they've been focusing efforts on tending to the speed issue on local roads, doing various things to try to address that. You know that the signs, the permanent speed detectors have been located on Matunic Beach Road and Middlebridge Road. The police department also has the trailered speed detectors that they put out strategically around town. There are only 3 of them. Our town is very large, but Chief Ewing Chow and his staff have been focused on trying to address the speed issues around the town. So I wanted to make sure the council was aware of that. Also, there was a question with regard to the new law related to the property tax credit in exchange for volunteer hours for services performed by persons over the age of 60. That is a new law established at the state level. We've begun to look into what opportunity that might present for residents of South Kingstown. There are many implications to that type of program, establishing something that works. With a little time, I'll be able to present some type of report to the council and a recommendation whether or not there's something that we could do in town for residents of a certain age who may benefit from that type of program with volunteer hours. And unless the council has anything else for me, that's my report.
Thank you, Terry. Deb, I know you mentioned you might have some questions regarding some of the public comments we heard. I don't know if you wanted to raise this. I think your microphone's off, Deb. Sorry.
We missed the opportunity because Mr. O'Neill left, but to explain a little bit more about the hospital master plan and how it's been in place for the whole time. Every 5 years they have to submit a new one, correct?
Sure. It's been a long history. I believe the most recent master plan revision was 2002 with the hospital. So there have been requirements right along for the hospital to be able to submit an updated master plan. Don't have all the details, but some of the requested improvements would impact the current parking capacity while the improvement is being made. So I think that has something to do with the planning board's decision. But I don't have all my information, so I can't really share any more than that at this time with regard to the status.
And they had a master plan, and then they took it off the agenda. So it wasn't the town staff that...
That's correct. The hospital removed the master plan update from the planning board itinerary.
So can we follow up with Mr. O'Neill to give him some better information? I mean, I feel like...
Sure.
Yeah. So.
Any other questions for Terry?
Terry, on August 16, the town council issued a request for proposal to solicit interest relating to an external search firm for a permanent town manager. Can you just give us an update as to the latest with that?
Sure. Bids were opened on Friday, and there were 3 proposals submitted. We have those. They are under review, and council will need to determine when you would like to go into either a separate meeting, executive session, or at the end of one of your regularly scheduled meetings to review those proposals.
Thank you.
So Larry Fish's letter with the EDC meeting had me just wanting to ask you about it jogged my memory that I saw something about the Saugatucket River project. Are there meetings happening at the community contemporary theater regarding the Saugatucket Park project?
The EDC had planned to hold a public meeting for a public input related to the Saugatucket Park project.
Right.
And they had proposed to hold that meeting at the Contemporary Theater for the public to attend.
Do you know when that is? No.
I don't have the date off the top of my head. I apologize.
Because I feel like it's soon.
I'm not certain exactly when that is. Let me just see if I can find it here.
Okay.
I'll have to get back to you. I can't.
That's fine.
Locate that.
That's fine.
At this moment.
That's all I have.
Any final questions for Terry? All right. Appointments. Item 11.
I make a motion to appoint Tim Murphy to the Library Board of Trustees for a 3-year term.
Second.
Motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries.
I move that we appoint Hillary Carlson to the Library Board of Trustees for a 3-year term.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries.
I move that we appoint David Flanders to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries as well. And that brings us to item 12, new business. Oh, sorry, 11B. Well, yeah. Do we want to take 11B? Are we interested in interviews for that position, or what do we want to do?
Rory McEntee, I'll make a resolution appointing John Rose to the Canvassing Authority to fill a term to expire in March 2025.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? That motion carries unanimously. All right. We'll move on to 12D, a resolution authorizing the purchase of one Stryker Power Pro XT stretcher from Stryker Medical Corporation of Michigan in an amount not to exceed $21,389, further described in a memo from the Chief of Emergency Medical Services to the interim town manager dated August 10th.
Motion to approve 12D.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. 12E is a resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 multifunction copiers from Ryco USA of Philadelphia in an amount not to exceed $15,029 in accordance with Rhode Island Master Price Agreement number 337, further described in a memo from the Director of Technology to the interim town manager dated August 30th.
Motion to approve 12E.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously as well. 12G is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Eagle Point Gun of Thoroughfare, New Jersey for ammunition per the unit prices as submitted by bid on August 31st, 2021. Unit pricing to be held through June 30th, 2022, with the option to extend 1 additional year through June 30th, 2023, inclusive, if mutually agreeable to both parties. Further described in a memo from the police chief to the interim town manager dated September 1st.
Motion to approve 12G.
Second.
Motion, a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. H, a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Stillman Uniforms, 271 Post Road, E1, Westerly, Rhode Island, for point-blank soft body armor per the unit prices as submitted by bid on August 31st. Unit pricing to be held through June 30th, 2022, with the option to extend 1 additional year through June 30th, 2023, inclusive, if mutually agreeable to both parties. Further described in a memo from the police chief to the interim town manager dated September 1st.
Rory McEntee, I'll make a motion to approve 12H.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. 12J, a resolution authorizing the tax assessor to abate taxes in the total amount of $12,371.64, as shown on tax abatement request number 591.
Motion to approve 12J.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries unanimously. 12K is a resolution extending the town's declaration of emergency adopted at an emergency session on March 15th, 2020, subsequently renewed April 13th, May 11th, June 8th, July 13th, August 11th, September 14th, October 13th, November 9th, December 14th, all of 2020, January 11th, January 25th, February 2nd, March 22nd, April 26th, May 24th, June 28th, July 26th, August 10th of this year.
Motion to approve 12K.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there discussion? Is there anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries unanimously. 12L, a resolution authorizing the interim town manager to execute a contract with Tyler Technologies Incorporated of Yarmouth, Maine, to upgrade its Munis software, described in a memo from the finance and IT directors to the interim town manager dated September 7th.
Motion to approve 12L.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion?
This one I do have a question on. So I read the memo earlier today, and I just had a question about the third paragraph. It says, due to the timing of this implementation, the cost allocation for the first year for the school will be finalized at a later date. And I just am a little bit confused because earlier in the work session, the town manager had said we have been using Munis for 9 years, and we've always cost shared, right? So I'm just confused about why we don't know what we're doing with the schools right now at this time with a cost share. So are we going to come up with that amount at a later date? What's the reason why if we've always cost shared, why we don't have that now?
Sure. So this particular expenditure, the council authorized a year-end transfer of $100,000 for the purpose of going into having Munis in the cloud. And as far as the school department budget is concerned, the way the school department budget was structured with and I'm going to have Zach correct me if I'm wrong on this, but with the knowing that the school department can come back to the council each quarter if there's a need for additional funding, that at this point we've got the funding to cover this first installment to transfer to the cloud. So in essence, it's from the same bucket. It comes from the general fund year-end surplus, and the council already authorized that, pulling it over. Zach, if you want to elaborate, maybe you can, or correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you are correct. This was because of the timing of when this expenditure was going to take place. The budget had already passed for the school for fiscal 22. Now we're asking them to add on an additional cost, not knowing where they are right now in their financial position. We want to just take the time and work with them, and we do expect that there will be some allocation for this cost in fiscal 22, but waiting to find out what the project timeline will be. If we go live in May, we're talking 1 month, for the fiscal year next, for this implementation. So the cost increase would not be that significant for them, and they can probably shoulder that burden. If we went live earlier than that, they may have to do some shuffling with their budget to do that. But also knowing that we did request the year-end transfer to basically cover the entire cost if the school couldn't implement or have an allocation for this first year. We're giving them enough time, obviously, now, knowing that they're going to have it going forward with the rest of the contract. But this wasn't part of the budget discussions during fiscal 22. So they had already adopted their budget. The town had adopted the budget. We were then using 21 surpluses to help cover the cost. We then went back to the school and said, we may come to you to help, because you do use the system. We may come to you at a later date, not knowing what that number is. Also recognizing that, the council had passed the potential for them to come back and request funds. I didn't want to have a circular transaction where we gave them an allocation, then they come to you and say, we can't afford this, so we'd like so we're waiting to see where they are, to see what we can actually charge to them for in this first year. And that you'll be informed of that when we come up with that number. But today, we didn't want to hold them to anything yet. But we are holding them to the same allocation that's been historical for the rest of the 4 years, so that they can implement that into their fiscal 23 budgets going forward.
So it's a new cost?
This is a new cost because we use Munis, but we're now increasing our cost because we're going to their cloud-based solution. So if we didn't go to this solution, we would stay on the same on-premises where we would host it here with our servers, and we would know the cost of that. We're now going to a new solution that they offer, and they're migrating all their clients to, so there is an increase from where we already are, from what we already pay. So it's an additional, because we're hosting it, there's an additional cost because it's hosted off-site through Tyler. So they do cover their cost that they have today, the system that we're running, they cover that. Okay.
They're giving us that, we just don't know.
Yes, they are charged that piece, and that's about, I think the total cost is in like the $65,000 range, and they pick up a portion of that, and then.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no, sorry, hope I got there.
You got there, thank you.
Okay.
All right, and any other discussion on item L?
Motion to approve item 12L.
Oh, yeah, we have any discussion. No more discussion. All right, anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries unanimously. We got past 10 o'clock here, but just barely. And we are at the end of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All right. This meeting is adjourned.
Yep. But you kind of, I just.